Chapter 584. Everyone's expressions changed drastically. At this moment, they suddenly discovered that they could not see through Xiao Chen's strength at all. A strong wind blew, and clouds churned, quickly gathering above Xiao Chen's head. This was the starting move of the lightning tribulation saber technique, gathering wind and clouds. As the wind blew, the clouds moved, and the clouds gathered with the wind. As the wind blew and clouds churned, Xiao Chen took a step forward and swept his saber with an even stronger aura. Pu Ci. Pu Ci. The saber intent that Lin Fei was so proud of as his trump card crumbled before Xiao Chen's even stronger saber intent. Even the state of withering plants crumbled. Before the saber blade could touch Xiao Chen, the aura of Xiao Chen's saber shattered it. Dang! A melodious sound rang out, and the saber in Lin Fei's hand fell. A vast and unblockable force knocked Lin Fei into the air. When Lin Fei crashed into the wind cloud barrier, he vomited a large mouthful of blood. The suppressed injuries in his body instantly erupted, and he fell to the ground, unable to get up again. How can this be? You actually comprehended saber intent as well. As Lin Fei looked at Xiao Chen, whose clothes fluttered in the wind and clouds, and whose aura was wild and unruly, heavy shock filled his eyes. He had not expected such an ending. Xiao Chen wins. You gain 2 points. The referee on the platform looked at Xiao Chen. He felt very curious as well, discovering that he could not see through this youth. Xiao Chen slowly walked to the scabbard in the wind cloud platform. Then, he accurately sheathed the lunar shadow saber. His left hand grasped the saber hilt and gently pulled it out. Then, he casually left the platform. Roar! The instant Xiao Chen drew the scabbard from the wind cloud platform, a strand of dragon qi immediately came out of the hole. This dragon qi had been suppressed by Xiao Chen's scabbard for too long. The moment it came out, it gave off a resonant dragon roar. This dragon roar was even louder than any of the previous dragon roars from the wind cloud arena. The originally formless dragon qi actually condensed together with this loud dragon roar. Xiao Chen roared ferociously and tore through the wind cloud barrier. Then, he soared into the thick, lingering dark clouds 10 kilometers above Dragon Ceiling City. Xiao! The dragon qi tore a hole in the thick, dark clouds, and a dazzling golden light immediately poured down. It descended from the sky and enveloped Xiao Chen, who was walking slowly. The dazzling golden light moved with Xiao Chen. When the hundreds of thousands of cultivators saw this scene, they all gaped, speechless. On the dragon pillar, Sima Lingxian had experienced such a scene as well. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen received such treatment as well. Lin Fei, who had just climbed up from the wind cloud platform, felt dissatisfied when he saw this scene. He said angrily, "Damn it! The golden light enveloping me and everyone's attention is something that I should be enjoying." Bai Qi, who had not truly treated Xiao Chen as an opponent all this while, had a grave expression on his face. Aside from Xianyuan Zhantian, there is one more person in the fight for the top 3. Sima Lingxian, who sat alone in the seated seat with absolute confidence, revealed a strange look in his eyes. However, it quickly disappeared. Sima Lingxian said softly, "No matter how strong you are destined to be my stepping stone in this 5-nation youth competition. Being in the same generation as me, Sima Lingxian, is your tragedy." When Xiao Chen sat down, the golden light that had been accompanying him slowly disappeared. The hole that the thick dark clouds had broken through started to close up. After this scene, the matches that did not have many exciting matches in the first place became even more lackluster. Aside from the matches of the noble clans, which attracted some attention, no one paid any attention to the other matches. Most of the cultivators in the spectator stand started discussing the geniuses that appeared in the 2 elimination rounds. Actually, in this 5-nation youth competition, there are only 4 true newcomers: Xiao Chen, Chu Chaoyun, Xianyuan Zhantian, and Yu Chenxi. The others can only serve as foils for them. That can't be right. How can Yu Chenxi be counted? She participated in the previous 5-nation youth competition. Ha ha! how can she not be counted? She was not outstanding in the previous five-nation youth competition. In this five-nation youth competition, she suddenly erupted and defeated Nangong Ziyue. She can definitely be counted as a newcomer. Right, I feel that she can be counted as well. How unfortunate for Lin Fei. If he did not suffer such a miserable defeat in the final match, he could be considered one of the five newcomers. Indeed, he is also a peak genius who comprehended saber intent. Unfortunately, he ran into Xiao Chen and lost too miserably. The nearby cultivators discussed fervently. From the very start, they could not stop talking, they were all very fervent. However, they could not be blamed. Compared to the previous five-nation youth competitions, this one was simply too exciting. There were many geniuses and newcomers. The strength of the veteran experts was still present. There was an intense clash between the old and the new, and everyone could feel it clearly. Geniuses appeared in large numbers, outstanding talents gathered. This was a great era of geniuses. They could personally witness the arrival of this age of geniuses, the birth of the main character of this age. They could not help but feel excited. The geniuses that appeared might very well become future martial emperors, leaving their names in the annals of history. I feel that these four people have the strength to make it into the top 5. The 8 noble clans' monopoly on the top 8 will be broken. It is too early to say this. The strength of the Saiyans is clear for all to see. Which one of them is mediocre? Furthermore, they are all older than them. It is hard to say. That's right. We will only know who is strong and who is weak after they fight. However, this five-nation youth competition is a feast for my eyes. This trip was not made in vain. Amidst the clamor, the second elimination round slowly came to an end. Today's elimination round was different from the previous one. One could not just leave after fighting. The city lord's residence's people would tally the points and announce the 100 people who qualified to participate in the ranking matches. These 100 people would also enter the True Dragon ranking. When the five-nation youth competition ended, their names would truly spread throughout the world. Murong Chong was clearly nervous. He had a proud and aloof character, so he cared a lot about the True Dragon ranking. He had lost 7 matches in today's elimination round and had 3 draws. He had no idea if he could pass with such results. Yun Kersen looked rather weak. She had been injured in the battle, so she had no choice but to end the competition early. Although she was very optimistic, seeing that the True Dragon ranking was about to be announced, she could not help but feel disappointed. Boom! 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 Wind and thunder roared everywhere. The 20 wind cloud platforms quickly merged together, forming 10 even larger wind cloud platforms. Suddenly, a taller and larger wind cloud platform rose in the center of the wind cloud platform. It was clearly different from the others. This wind cloud platform was polygonal, with a total of 10 corners. Each corner had a dragon pillar. The Dragon Sealing City's city lord stood on the wind cloud platform, holding a list of names. He said, "I will now announce the participants who are qualified to participate in the ranking matches. Those whose names are not announced are not selected." As the city lord read out the names, the final suspense was finally revealed. Fortunately, Murong Chang's name was among them. Now, there were 2 people from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion on the wind cloud platform. The city lord only read out 99 names, not the 100th. However, everyone knew that the 100th name was reserved for the first seed, Sima Lingxian. Only he had this honor in 2 consecutive five-nation youth competitions. The ranking matches will begin in 3 days. At that time, the rules will be announced. Go back and have a good rest. 3 days later, in the courtyard of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion in Dragon Sealing City, Jiang Qi said sincerely to the 2 of them, Murong Chong, Xiao Chen, the ranking matches are about to begin. There is no need for the 2 of you to feel any psychological burden. For you to reach this step, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion already owes you too much. Xiao Chen nodded and said, "We will do our best and leave it to fate." As long as we do our best, Xiaochen will not have any regrets. Murong Chong said the same thing. After reaching this step and seeing countless geniuses, Murong Chong had become much more mature. Jiang Qi smiled and said, "Let's go, then." The Dragon Sealing City's city lord, Zongliang, stood on the tallest wind cloud platform surrounded by 10 dragon pillars and announced the rules of the ranking matches. The ranking matches would not be split into groups. There would be 100 rounds. Every participant would only have to fight one match in each round. That way, there would be 50 matches in each round. Like the elimination rounds, the ranking matches used a point system. All the participants would start from 0. A win would give them 2 points, a loss would deduct 2 points. The only difference was that there were no draws, there had to be a victor. The purpose of this was to prevent a tacit understanding like in the elimination rounds. Now that the ranking matches were at the end, naturally, the organizers would not allow such a situation to occur. It was impossible to finish 100 rounds in one day. Every day, the matches would end before the sky turned dark. By the time the 50 rounds were over, it might take 4 or 5 days. Chapter 585. The rules for this 5-nation rankings are rather interesting. After 100 rounds, every participant will have to display their full strength. They cannot hide their strength. However, the opponents for each round are not decided by drawing lots or by themselves. They are all arranged by the city lord's residence. Haha. That is not a problem. The city lord's residence will definitely not favor any participant. I guess the purpose of doing this is to prevent the super geniuses from meeting each other early. It would be boring for the super geniuses to meet each other so early. It is better to leave some suspense in the competition. Overall, the rules for this 5-nation rankings tournament were very normal. There was nothing new about it, nor was there anything worthy of criticism. The elders of the various sects all expressed no objections. Seeing that no one had any objections, Zongliang continued, "Since there are no objections, let's invite the top 100 participants to come up and prepare for the ceremony to collect luck." After that, the first round of the 5-nation rankings tournament will officially begin. Luck was ethereal and formless, it was hard to grasp. How could it be collected? This was the first time Xiaochen participated in such a ceremony. He was very curious, so he walked up with some anticipation. There were a total of 11 wind cloud arenas. Aside from the tallest wind cloud arena in the middle, there were 10 people standing on each of the other 10 arenas. Zongliang closed his eyes and quickly formed hand seals with his hands. It was an ancient and complicated hand seal. In an instant, his 10 fingers moved more than 100 times. An ancient, dignified, and divine aura spread out from Zongliang's body. The tallest arena under his feet started to shake violently. Roar! 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 Below the wind cloud arena, several tens of thousands of meters deep, 4 desolate dragon roars resounded. The dragon roars were deep and drawn out. Compared to the dragon roars contained in the dragon chi, the difference was like heaven and earth. That ancient and savage aura put a heavy pressure on the 100 participants. Their legs felt as heavy as lead, they could not move a single step. They felt like a huge rock was pressing against their chests, making them feel very uncomfortable. Did I hear wrong? There were actually 4 dragon roars. 4 dragon roars means 4 dragon veins have awakened. Normally, it would be heaven-defying to awaken only 2. The Age of Geniuses truly lives up to its name. All 4 dragon veins have awakened. The participants of this 5-nation youth competition have obtained more than 4 times the luck of previous years. In the spectator stands, there were cultivators who had watched many 5-nation youth competitions. The awakening of the 4 dragon veins represented the beginning of the Age of Geniuses. In the future, a martial emperor would be born. In the previous Age of Geniuses, the Thunder King Sangmu appeared. He was someone who could stand shoulder to shoulder with the Tianwu Emperor. Who knew what kind of powerful character would appear this time? The dragon roar stirred up the dark clouds in the sky. Thunder rumbled one after another, and the atmosphere of the entire place became oppressive and heavy. Shio! The instant the thunder stopped, 100 holes appeared in the thick clouds 10 kilometers above Dragon's Ceiling City. 100 golden pillars of light descended from the sky and enveloped all the participants of the ranking battles. Drip a drop of blood on the jade pendant at your waists, and the ceremony will be complete. The 4 dragon veins will awaken. How much luck you can collect will depend on your ability, Zhong Liang said weakly. When Xiao Chen heard this, he removed the dragon-shaped jade pendant at his waist. The little golden dragon swam around happily in the transparent jade pendant. Xiao Chen pricked his finger and dripped a drop of blood. The blood seeped into the jade pendant and entered the body of the little golden dragon. Pooh! Xiao Chen felt that his soul and mind seemed to be connected to the little dragon. That little dragon seemed to have become his incarnation. Furthermore, he seemed to have established a weak connection with some kind of majestic existence. He could not explain what it was. The ranking battles took place in the same arena. After the ceremony ended, 4 referees walked onto the tall arena surrounded by 10 dragon pillars. The first match of the first round of the ranking battles begins. Wang Quan vs. Lin Fei. Wang Quan was the scion of the Wang clan, one of the 8 noble clans. He was ranked 6th in the previous 5-nation youth competition. He was a true giant of the younger generation. The weapon he used was the rather troublesome Dragon Fiend Whip. The Dragon Fiend Whip was said to have been made by an expert of the Wang clan's ancestral generation. They killed a fiend dragon in the Kunlun realm and used the bones on its back to make it. Then, they gave it to the younger generation of the Wang clan to use. Lin Fei was one of the experts on the newcomer ranking list. His Earth Vein Saber technique was unfathomable. What was even rarer was that he comprehended saber intent to 20%. Although Lin Fei lost to Xiao Chen, no one could deny his strength. Everyone guessed that although he could not defeat Wang Quan, he could still hold his own. As long as Lin Fei could hold his own, he could continue fighting. Even if he could not obtain victory, fighting with an expert would allow him to gain some comprehension and raise his cultivation. Wang Quan sheathed the Dragon Fiend Whip at his waist and looked at Lin Fei with a relaxed expression. He smiled and said, "You are Lin Fei. I have noticed you. I have long wanted to try out your Earth Vein Saber technique. Make your move." Wang Quan's small matter upset Lin Fei. He said, "Don't act like victory is already in your grasp. Be careful of failing miserably in an easy task." "Ha ha. In that case, let me see how you are going to make me fail miserably in an easy task." Wang Quan smiled faintly. He did not think much of it. Lin Fei's fight with Xiao Chen had thoroughly exposed his strength. Wang Quan did not feel any pressure when facing Lin Fei. If not for him being excited to see how strange the Earth Vein Saber technique was, he would not even be bothered to say anything to Lin Fei. Wang! Lin Fei drew his saber. He had no intention of hiding his strength when facing Wang Quan. The moment he made his move, he brought out his saber intent. A strand of saber chi shot out from Lin Fei's feet. His figure flickered and arrived before Wang Quan, hacking down with his saber. With the support of saber intent, the 6-meter-long saber light spat out a cold light, looking very mighty. Wang Quan did not rush to clash head-on with his opponent. He pushed off the ground and dodged the other party's saber light. During the 10 moves, Wang Quan dodged all the time. He did not intend to make a move, moving around the saber lights that Lin Fei sent out. Earth Vein Saber technique. After forcing Wang Quan back with another move, Lin Fei finally executed the Earth Vein Saber technique. The saber chi that came from the ground and the saber light on the saber attacked his opponent at the same time. Chi! Chi! Even though Wang Quan had anticipated this and did his best to dodge, the saber chi that came from the ground still tore a hole in his robes. If not for Lin Fei's movement technique, this saber strike would have injured Wang Quan. Not bad, continue. A strange look flashed in Wang Quan's eyes as he smiled gently. Seeing that Wang Quan still had no intention of drawing out the Dragon Fiend whip, Lin Fei became completely enraged. He combined his saber intent and executed the Earth Vein Saber technique to its limits. Immediately, saber lights flew everywhere, kicking up strong winds and howling winds. Lin Fei's unpredictable saber techniques were like a phantom. Wang Quan was surrounded by danger, like a leaf in the wind. It seemed like the saber chi could injure him at any moment. After another 10 moves, Wang Quan shook his head slightly. He thought to himself, the Earth Vein Saber technique is indeed powerful. Unfortunately, Lin Fei has not comprehended the state of Earth and cannot bring out its full might. Wang Quan lost interest in the Earth Vein Saber technique. He grasped the Dragon Fiend whip at his waist and said softly, "The game is over. You can be defeated now." Wang Quan pulled his right hand up, and the Dragon Fiend whip coiled around him, encasing him within. Then, it turned into intense wind blades flying in all directions. The instant the storm appeared, Lin Fei's saber technique stopped. He was preparing to use the Earth Vein Saber technique again. However, before he could react, the saber technique that he had stored up was scattered. Wang Quan grasped Lin Fei's rhythm. When he attacked, he disrupted Lin Fei's saber technique. Wang Quan shook his wrist, and the Dragon Fiend whip, which had coiled around him, changed its direction and flew towards Lin Fei's chest. At this moment, Wang Quan's aura completely changed. The smile on his face vanished, and his gaze became as sinister as a venomous snake's, devoid of any emotion. A strong aura burst out and completely suppressed Lin Fei's aura. Lin Fei, who had just disrupted Lin Fei's saber technique, saw the whip flying at him like a ferocious dragon. He could not help but be distracted for a moment. Ka xie! Ka xie! By the time Lin Fei reacted, the whip had already sent him tumbling through the air. When he landed on the ground, he vomited a large mouthful of blood. Several of his ribs had been broken. The jade pendant at Lin Fei's waist immediately shot out a strand of golden light and entered Wang Quan's jade pendant. The little golden dragon in the jade pendant dimmed slightly. As for the little golden dragon in Wang Quan's jade pendant, its luster became much denser. When Xiaoqin saw this inconceivable scene, a grave look flashed in his eyes. He asked doubtfully, "What's going on?" The first elder, Jiang Qi, explained, "This is possession. The little golden dragon in the jade pendant is the luck that you obtained from the dragon vein. Every time you defeat someone, you can forcefully possess a trace of the other party's luck. When it accumulates to a certain level, the golden dragon will break out of the jade pendant. At that time, the competition for luck will be even more intense." Xiaoqin said in understanding, "Indeed, that is the case. No wonder the city lords said that how much luck you obtain depends on your ability." Such a forceful possession was extremely cruel to those who were weaker. The natural law of survival of the fittest was clearly displayed at this moment. Xiaoqin sighed. He thought to himself, the best of times, the worst of times. In the end, the age of geniuses is just the stage for the strong. The weak can only become the stepping stones for the strong, allowing them to go further and higher. The competition continued. There were 50 matches in each round. Everyone had one chance to fight. This time, it was Bai Qi's turn to fight. His opponent was a small perfection half-step martial monarch bladesman. When facing Bai Qi, who possessed a peak small perfection saber intent, that participant chose to admit defeat. The jade pendant at his waist immediately shot out a strand of golden light and merged with Bai Qi's jade pendant. Match 36, Xiaoqin vs. Duanmuking. When Xiaoqin heard Duanmuking's name, he was somewhat surprised. He had not expected someone from the great Qin nation to enter the top 100. Furthermore, it was someone he was familiar with. In the wind cloud platform, Duanmuking looked at the white-robed Xiaoqin. A helpless expression appeared in her cold eyes. Back then, Xiaoqin could not even withstand one palm strike from her. However, after he became famous at the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, she could no longer catch up to him. Even now, Xiaoqin was a newcomer that everyone paid attention to. He was a hot contender for the top 10 spots in the five-nation youth competition. However, she had barely managed to enter the top 100 after much difficulty. Chapter 586. Xiao Chen, how about we decide this in one move? Duan asked softly. Xiao Chen did not reject. He nodded and said, make your move. Frost's rage. Duan black hair turned white. He immediately took out his killing move, a slender sword covered in frost. A sharp state of ice spewed out from the tip of the sword. It seemed like it wanted to engulf the world and seal the sea in ice. Ka-xie. Xiao Chen drew his saber and used his 30% comprehended saber intent. A solid crystalline saber chi flew out from his saber. After chopping his opponent's state of ice in half, the saber chi's sharpness did not diminish. Then, it broke through Duan protective essence and left a shallow wound on his body. Duan knew that this was Xiao Chen showing mercy. At the same time, she was even more astonished at Xiao Chen's strength. At the last moment, he could still control the saber chi he sent out as he pleased. As of now, the gap between her and Xiao Chen could no longer be described as a chasm. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and thought for a while. Then, he said, your state of ice is somewhat superficial. It looks very mighty, but its energy is scattered. You are not Lu Xiaoyun. Without sufficient accumulations, you will not be able to withstand a single blow from an expert. You might as well turn the state of ice into a cold wind and infuse it into your sword technique. Although it will be weaker this way, it will be more condensed. When Duan heard this, she entered deep thought. She vaguely felt like she figured out some problems. After a while, she said, many thanks. The victor was already decided. The jade pendant at Duan waist shot out a golden line uncontrollably and entered the little dragon in Xiao Chen's jade pendant. Xiao Chen immediately felt that the golden dragon had become slightly stronger. Furthermore, it appeared to be very happy. Sima Lingxian stepped out after Xiao Chen. Before Sima Lingxuan's strong self-confidence, his opponent did not even dare to look him in the eye. The moment Sima Lingxian stepped out, he admitted defeat. When Sima Lingxian saw the golden line enter the jade pendant, his lips curled up. He shook his head gently and said, how boring. The competition proceeded in an orderly fashion. There were some lessons learned earlier. When the ordinary participants met with the scions of the 8 noble clans or young giants like Xianyuan Zhantian, they would not be able to win. He could either choose to admit defeat or directly choose to use one move to determine the winner and loser. He wanted to understand the gap between him and the giants. In this way, the progress of the 50 matches wasn't slow, and a round was completed in 2 hours. By the time the sun was about to set, 12 rounds of competition had already been carried out. Xiao Chen had won 12 matches in a row without losing a single match. The little golden dragon in the jade pendant at his waist was not only bright and did not dim in the slightest, but it had also grown significantly larger. The entire jade pendant was covered in blood. One more victory and the jade pendant was about to break out. As for the golden dragon in Murong Chang's jade pendant, it was far inferior to Xiao Chen's. Of the 12 matches, Murong Chang only obtained 5 victories. Not only did the golden dragon not grow larger, it even dimmed and became smaller. Murong Chang sneaked a glance at the golden dragon in Xiao Chen's jade pendant and felt somewhat dispirited. Comparing oneself to others was truly infuriating. If not for Xiao Chen's existence, no matter how bad Murong Chang's results were, he would be able to shake the heavenly saber pavilion. However, when compared to Xiao Chen, the gap immediately became apparent. How was his golden dragon a dragon? It was not even comparable to a worm. Murong Chang felt very depressed. When he returned, he would be too embarrassed to speak of his results. Roar! Just at this moment, there was the melodious sound of something breaking. A dragon roar resounded. After Wang Quan defeated his opponent in one move, the jade pendant at his waist shattered. A golden light flickered, and a 15-meter-long 5-clawed golden dragon appeared above his head. It broke. Wang Quan's golden dragon, which won 13 matches in a row, finally came out. The moment it came out, it is already 15 meters long. It looks like his luck is not weak. When a regular contestant's golden dragon breaks out of their jades, it is only 10 meters long. That is natural. Wang Quan obtained the 6th rank last year. How can other cultivators compare to his luck? Ka Xie. After Wang Quan's golden dragon broke out of his jades, the golden dragons of the top 10 contestants of the previous 5-nation youth competition also broke out of their jades. Incredible! Nangong Ziyue's golden dragon is also 15 meters long. Qian Wen's golden dragon is also 15 meters long. Gong Yangyu's golden dragon is slightly weaker. It is only 45 meters long. It is only 1 meter stronger than Lu Xiaoyun's. However, in terms of strength, Bai Qi's golden dragon is still stronger. It is 25 meters long. The second-ranked contestant in the previous 5-nation youth competition is indeed extraordinary. Bai Qi had just finished his match. The 20-meter-long golden dragon above his head looked down on the crowd. The other golden dragons circling in the sky were all inferior to him. Next match, Sima Lingxian against Gao Wei. After the referee's voice rang out, Sima Lingshuan's figure flashed a few times. He arrived on the arena and stood there proudly. Naturally, he attracted everyone's attention. After this match, Sima Lingshuan's golden dragon will probably come out as well. I wonder how long it will be. Will it be able to surpass Bai Qi? He will definitely surpass Bai Qi. It just depends on how much he surpasses him. Is it 1 meter or 3 meters? The crowd was filled with anticipation. They wanted to see how long the golden dragon of this man, who had been a seeded participant for 2 consecutive 5-nation youth competitions, would be. The contestant named Gao Wei was a disciple of a large sect in the Great Jin Nation. Although his sect was not one of the top 10 great sects, it had a lot of accumulations. It controlled more than 10 spirit veins. His sect did not lack resources. Furthermore, his talent was outstanding. Furthermore, he came from the Great Jin Nation, which was rich in spiritual energy. Thus, he managed to enter the top 100 rather easily. However, when Gao Wei heard that his opponent for this round was Sima Lingxian, his expression turned extremely depressed. He unwillingly walked to the wind cloud arena. When Gao Wei fought with the other noble clan disciples, even if he could not defeat them, he would choose to win in one move. He wanted to see if he could comprehend some martial techniques. However, when facing Sima Lingxian, he had no choice but to admit defeat. This was because Sima Lingshuan's strong self-confidence had completely merged with his aura. If one exchanged glances with Sima Lingxian, they would automatically feel inferior to him if their thoughts were not strong enough. Under such circumstances, they would not even be able to bring out half of their strength. How could they exchange moves with Sima Lingxian? This was simply a joke. I admit defeat. As the crowd expected, Sima Lingshuan's 13th opponent chose to admit defeat like the ones before him. He did not even have the courage to exchange moves. After Gao Wei admitted defeat, a golden dragon chi from the jade pendant at his waist shot into Sima Lingshuan's jade pendant with a xiu sound. Ka Xie. The sound of the jade pendant shattering rang out. A dazzling golden light flickered, and a 23-meter-long 5-clawed golden dragon circled above Sima Lingshuan's head. Then, it soared into the air. The 23-meter-long golden dragon immediately outshone Bai Qi's 23-meter-long golden dragon. Among the many golden dragons that were 40 or 50 meters long, it stood out like a crane among a flock of chickens. Sima Lingxian is indeed Sima Lingxian. No wonder he is so strong and has such strong luck. No one can defeat him. He is 6 meters taller than Bai Qi. That is a suppressive advantage. Although luck does not represent a person's strength, it is still an important factor. Ha ha! This is just the beginning. When the ranking matches are over, we will be able to determine his luck. That's true. I wonder if Sima Lingxuan's golden dragon can reach 23 meters, reaching the peak of the 9 digits and becoming a true sovereign. The golden dragon breaking out of jade, that was the golden dragon that represented Sima Lingxuan's luck. The moment it appeared, it shocked everyone. When Xiaochen saw Sima Lingxuan's golden dragon, a look of astonishment flashed in his eyes. He thought to himself, I wonder how much luck I have. However, when Xiaochen thought about it, it should not be as high as Sima Lingxuan's. At most, it should be about the same level as Wang Quan and the others, slightly weaker than Bai Qi. After all, Xiaochen had only been in this world for a short time. If he had not reached the 8th floor of the ancient desolate tower, he would have been slightly weaker than Wang Quan and the others, who had obtained Dragon Vein luck in the previous 5-nation youth competition. However, Xiaochen did not worry too much. This was just the beginning. As long as he kept winning, his luck would increase and his opponent's luck would decrease. Taking over another person's luck to strengthen one's own body. The strong would become stronger and the weak would become weaker. When Chu Chaoyun saw the luck above Sima Lingxuan's head, an undetectable desire flashed in his eyes. He muttered to himself, the luck of the wind cloud platform is indeed strong. It is even stronger than the luck of my Tianwu dynasty's remnant races. However, after this competition, your luck will end here. As the 13th round of matches progressed, the jade pendants on the waists of the contestants who ranked highly in the previous 5-nation youth competition and won 13 matches in a row shattered, turning into golden dragons soaring in the air. Next match, Nangong Ziyue vs Li Tianhua. Nangong Ziyue was ranked 8th in the previous 5-nation youth competition. Li Tianhua was the scion of the Li clan, one of the 8 noble clans. He was ranked 5th in the previous 5-nation youth competition. In the 13th round of matches, the Wind Cloud platform finally welcomed a match between the strong. The disciples of the 8 noble clans fought together. This immediately attracted the attention of many people. Li Tianhua's weapon was a spear. He specialized in the coiling dragon spear technique. It was famous for its ferocity and tyranny. It was a peak superior grade earth-ranked martial technique. The coiling dragon was like the flood dragon, horn dragon, earth dragon, and fire dragon. They were all high-ranked spirit beasts that contained the bloodline of dragons. The coiling dragon was one of the more noble ones. It contained large amounts of true dragon blood. However, it had lost its ability to soar through the 9 heavens and spent most of its time in hibernation. However, the energy that the coiling dragon spat out was no weaker than that of a true dragon. It could easily shatter mountains and split the earth. Hence, it was known as the true dragon of the earth. Xiaochen had seen Li Tianhua make a move before. The moment the two of them appeared, he could roughly guess the result. Nangong Ziyue was not a match for Li Tianhua. The state that Li Tianhua used happened to be the nemesis of the state of mountains and rivers. In a situation where their cultivations were similar, the states countered each other. If Nangong Ziyue wanted to win, she could only rely on technique. The development of the wind cloud platform was similar to what Xiaochen expected. Li Tianhua held his spear and took the stance of a coiling dragon. As the spear danced, it was like a coiling dragon soaring up and down. Its aura was vast and imposing. On the ground, Li Tianhua was able to suppress Nangong Ziyue's immortal mountains and rivers fist. Occasionally, the spear shattered a tall mountain. The river splashed up into the sky. The water flowed continuously. It was difficult for the towering mountains to form a strong momentum. When it came to Nangong Ziyue's fist technique, its might was significantly weaker. Her aura lacked a tyrannical air. Chapter 587. Nangong Ziyue frowned and tried to salvage the situation. She stopped clashing head-on with Li Tianhua and tried to use techniques to obtain victory. However, it was already too late. Nangong Ziyue had already lost the initiative. Li Tianhua had already grasped the rhythm of the match, it was not something she could change. In the end, Nangong Ziyue could only stake everything on one throw. She punched with her incomplete state and executed the immortal mountains and rivers, trying to decide victory in one move. Twin dragons playing with a pearl. Li Tianhua smiled faintly. Victory was in his grasp, so he executed the best move of the coiling dragon spear technique. The tip of the spear trembled and sent out 2 spear lights. They turned into 2 ferocious coiling dragons and clashed with Nangong Ziyue's fists. The coiling dragons roared ferociously and the incomplete state of mountains and rivers shattered. Nangong Ziyue took 10 steps back and helplessly admitted defeat. A golden light flashed and snatched away some of Nangong Ziyue's luck. Li Tianhua's golden dragon also broke out of the jade. It was 25 meters long, its luck was also at the peak. 50th match, Xiaochen vs Bai Zhan. This was the last match of the 13th round, as well as the last match of the day. It was finally Xiao Chen's turn to fight. Furthermore, his opponent was someone he was familiar with. When Xiao Chen saw Bai Zhan walk up to the dueling ring, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Then, he walked up the dueling ring with heavy steps. Bai Zhan felt very complicated in his heart. Originally, he thought that after merging ice and fire, he would be able to defeat Xiao Chen and wash away his previous humiliation. Who knew, Xiao Chen's improvement was even greater than his. Even Gong Yangyu lost to Xiao Chen. Gong Yangyu was much stronger than Bai Zhan. Even though Bai Zhan felt somewhat dissatisfied, he had to admit this fact. Right now, Xiao Chen was stronger than Bai Zhan. Furthermore, Xiao Chen was not just stronger by 1 or 2 levels. However, when Bai Zhan saw Xiao Chen ascend the dueling ring, the dissatisfaction in his eyes immediately vanished. He smiled and said, "Xiao Chen, congratulations. You have obtained consecutive victories and have not lost a single match. It looks like you will definitely make it into the top 10. Maintaining his silence, Xiao Chen's killing intent brewed in his heart. Crystallized Yuan Qi, which was like a solid substance, wandered around his body. All kinds of killing moves could be launched at any time. The smile on Bai Zhan's face became even wider as he continued, "Unfortunately, no matter how strong you are, you will not be able to protect your friends. After 100 battles, your friends, Kim Taeho, Bai, Murong Chong, Ding Fengqiu, and Chu Mu, will meet me. Their end will be as terrible as Zhuo Mo's. All of this is because of you. Because of you, Xiao Chen, they ended up like this. Because you offended me, none of them will have a good ending." Since he could not hurt Bai Zhan, he vented his anger on Bai Zhan's friends. Bai Zhan did not care about his identity as a genius at all. Such a character was no different from scum. The killing intent in Xiao Chen's heart was monstrous. He said coldly, "Are you done?" Seeing that Xiao Chen was angry, Bai Zhan's smile became even crazier. "Ha ha ha ha. What's wrong? Are you angry and want to hit me? Unfortunately, you cannot do so. You can only watch as your friends get tortured by me, one by one. I admit defeat." However, before I could say the word admit defeat, Bai Zhan cried out miserably and failed to admit defeat. It was Xiao Chen who made his move. The instant he spoke, he executed the lightning evasion. An electric light flashed, and he arrived before Bai Zhan. Xiao Chen's vital qi surged as he executed the berserk dragon fist on Bai Zhan's chest. He swallowed the last word he wanted to say. In the wind cloud platform, after one side admitted defeat, the other side had to stop attacking. This was a hard and fast rule. No one could break it, not even Sima Lingxian. This was Bai Zhan's plan. He wanted to admit defeat and infuriate Xiao Chen. Even if he could not defeat him, he wanted to disgust him. However, Bai Zhan had not expected Xiao Chen to have such a strange magic technique. Xiao Chen appeared before Bai Zhan in an instant. Bai Zhan did not have much time to think. He moved his hands, wanting to force Xiao Chen back temporarily and then admit defeat. A cold wind gathered on his left hand and a surging flame appeared on his right hand. This was Bai Zhan's signature move, the icy flame palm. One was ice and one was fire. When the cold and heat alternated, the opponent would feel extremely uncomfortable. Even cultivators stronger than Bai Zhan would have to be cautious when dealing with such a situation. Breaking armor. Seizing the heart. Xiao Chen clenched his right fist and executed the breaking armor stance. A sharp azure shockwave with the breaking armor attribute scattered Bai Zhan's icy flame palm like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. Xiao Chen's left hand formed a claw and executed the seizing the heart. An azure dragon claw appeared on his 5 fingers and shattered the icy flame palm that Bai Zhan sent out. With boundless killing intent, Xiao Chen clawed at Bai Zhan's chest. If Xiao Chen managed to get close to him, Bai Zhan would die without a doubt. He would not even have the chance to speak. Bai Zhan's complexion paled, and he felt a great panic in his heart. At this critical moment, he performed exceptionally well. He pressed his palms together, and the ice and raging fire essence in his body quickly merged. As the cold wind howled on the vast wind cloud platform, it actually blew out a hurricane containing flames. Ice and fire merged perfectly. Wave of raging ice flames. With a roar, Bai Qi's hands moved up and down, forming a right angle. The ice and fire energy beams intertwined and shot towards Xiao Chen. Bai Zhan did not hope to injure Xiao Chen with this move. He only hoped to delay him for a few seconds, giving him the opportunity to admit defeat. However, he was disappointed. Xiao Chen did not give him any chance. His right hand was on the hilt of his saber. Xiao Chen unleashed his peak small perfection saber intent. The crystal essence surging in his body gushed out with his saber. Xiao. With the support of the saber intent, the incredibly sharp crystal saber qi became even sharper. With a ka-cie sound, the saber qi easily chopped the ice and fire shockwaves in half. Furthermore, it was extremely accurate, right at the point where the ice and fire merged. The crystal-like electricity leaped around the saber qi. It broke through Bai Zhan's protective essence and left a horrifying wound on his chest. It was so deep that bones could be seen. A strong lightning-attributed essence entered the wound and poured into Bai Zhan's meridians, causing them to explode. Under Xiao Chen's saber strike without holding back, Bai Zhan's meridians ruptured. He was in unbearable pain. Bai Zhan rolled on the ground as he screamed. He could not even form a complete sentence. Xiao Chen had already placed Bai Zhan on the list of people he had to kill. However, he could not make a move now. Otherwise, he might bring trouble to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion in the future. Bai Zhan's meridians were crippled. Even if he had spirit pills and immortal medicines, he would not be able to recover his strength in a short time. He would not be able to threaten Xiao Chen's friends. If Bai Zhan was unlucky and could not find a spirit pill to treat his meridians, he would be crippled for life. Normally, Xiao Chen looked very peaceful, not saying a word. He rarely got angry and rarely killed people. However, dragons had reverse scales. If one touched them, one would die. Xiao Chen had a reverse scale as well. Whoever dared to threaten his friends and family would suffer a blow 100-fold or even 1,000-fold. No matter who it was, regardless of whether they were a super genius or a great sect backing them, Xiao Chen would not hold back. Xiao. The jade pendant at Bai Zhan's waist shot out a beam of golden light and entered Xiao Chen's jade pendant. The golden dragon, which had been impatient for a long time, immediately broke out of the jade pendant and circled above his head. The golden dragon was 15 meters long. Aside from Bai Qi and Sima Lingxian, it was no weaker than the geniuses of the other 8 noble clans. Xiao Chen sensed for a while and discovered that the golden dragon above his head seemed to be affecting his mind unconsciously. It swept away the fatigue and exhaustion of the day, replenishing his essence, qi, and spirit. The size of the golden dragon was not surprising to Xiao Chen. However, this additional function gave Xiao Chen a pleasant surprise. How surprising! Xiao Chen's golden dragon is 15 meters long. This is his first time participating in the 5-nation youth competition. He did not obtain any luck before this. Could it be that Xiao Chen really has the strength to fight against the 8 noble clans? He is just a disciple of a small sect in the great Qin nation. The difference between him and the 8 noble clans is too big. That might not be impossible. Think about it. From the start until now, Xiaoqin has not lost a single match in the elimination rounds or the ranking battles. He has not lost a single match or drawn a single match. He has a winning streak. Those who were thought to be able to end him always ended up losing to him in the end. His trump cards are endless. It seems like he can't use them all. There is no way to figure them out. Of those newcomers, even Chu Chaoyun and Xianyuan Zhantian, they all drew a match, ending their winning streaks. The only one with a winning streak from the start until now is Xiaoqin. That is indeed the case. I did not think about it earlier. Now that I think about it, it seems like he is the only one with a winning streak from the start until now. After all, the seeded contestants only joined midway. They do not have as many consecutive victories as Xiaoqin. The first day of the ranking battles ended with Xiaoqin's golden dragon breaking out of the jade. This final battle allowed everyone to see Xiaoqin in a new light, the contestant with the most consecutive victories among the younger generation. The long night finally passed amidst everyone's fervent anticipation. When the morning sun rose, the 14th round of the competition officially began. As the rounds progressed, many more golden dragons broke out of the jade among the 100 contestants. Several dozen golden dragons flew around in the air. Occasionally, they roared ferociously, baring their fangs and claws as they fought with each other. Slowly, Xiaoqin discovered some patterns. If the opponent's golden dragon was stronger, the more luck he absorbed. If the opponent was weaker, the amount of luck he absorbed would be negligible. For example, Sima Lingxian was simply too strong. The other contestants' golden dragons were all weaker than his. Furthermore, he did not meet any strong opponents. As a result, his golden dragon remained at about 25 meters, growing by less than a quarter. On the other hand, the golden dragons of the other noble clan disciples increased significantly. Li Tian, Wang Quan, and Yu Chenxi's golden dragons reached 23 meters. Xianyuan Zhantian's and Chu Chaoyun's golden dragons also reached 25 meters. They were only slightly behind the noble clan disciples and would soon catch up. The one who caught up the fastest was Bai Qi. After defeating a few strong opponents, his golden dragon was already 23 meters long, only 3 meters behind Sima Lingxuan's. Sima Lingxian smiled faintly and did not care. His goal was a 33-meter-long golden dragon. He wanted to reach the prime rank and obtain overwhelming luck, becoming the only true dragon in the Sky Dome realm. No matter how these people caught up, they would all end up benefiting him in the end. They would all be defeated by him and hand over their share of luck. The 35th match, Xiaoqin vs Fang Yunfei. This was the 25th round of the competition. In the earlier matches, Xiaoqin had not met with any strong opponents. Although he won all of them, his golden dragon only grew to 15 meters. He was still some distance away from the top geniuses. Chapter 588. Fang Yunfei was a personal disciple of the divine saber gate. His saber techniques were superb as well. He had obtained a significant amount of luck. His golden dragon was more than 10 meters long. Fang Yunfei was the strongest competitor that Xiaoqin had met. If he could obtain the other party's luck, his golden dragon would increase significantly. Fang Yunfei was tall and sturdy, with a stocky back and a stocky waist. However, the thing that looked even sturdier was the huge saber in his hand. That saber was nearly as tall as he was, and it was not even as wide as a palm. It was made of 81 types of rare ores. Not only was it sharp, but it was also very tough. It weighed more than 400 kilograms. Just by looking at this weapon, one could tell that Fang Yunfei's saber techniques were firm and ferocious. He used his strength to suppress others and obtain victory. Xiaoqin, I have a request. Can you not use saber intent and exchange moves with me? As long as you do not use saber intent, no matter the result, I will admit defeat. After Fang Yunfei went up, he made a request that everyone found strange. There was a fervent light in his eyes as he eagerly hoped that Xiao Chen would agree. As long as you agree, I will immediately go and tell the referee. I only want a fair fight with you, a fight between bladesmen. I guarantee that my saber techniques will not disappoint you. In a fight between bladesmen, if one side comprehended saber intent and the other did not, the bladesman would suffer a great disadvantage. In a situation of the same cultivation, there was no chance of victory. Hence, Fang Yunfei made this request. Seeing the silent Xiao Chen, Fang Yunfei waited anxiously. Fang Yunfei was a straightforward person and did not like to speak. He would say whatever was on his mind and did not like to beat around the bush. I have not met such a person in a long time. Xiao Chen sighed in his heart. Fang Yunfei did not seek victory but the process of the fight. As a bladesman as well, Fang Yunfei admired Xiao Chen's strength. He wanted to have a fair fight with Xiao Chen, using the intense battle to make up for the shortcomings of his saber techniques. Compared to Fang Yunfei, Xiao Chen was more anxious. After the ranking battle started, he only thought about how to increase his luck. A ripple appeared in his unchanging mental state. Even he himself did not notice it. Xiao Chen startled to his senses. He performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Thank you for thinking so highly of me. In that case, I will not use saber intent. Let's have a fair fight. You don't have to make any promises. If you win, I, Xiao Chen, can also afford to lose." As soon as he said that, the entire audience felt that it was strange. This was the final ranking battle. Winning or losing a match would affect one's final ranking. The difference in rank and the amount of luck obtained would affect a cultivator's entire life. This was not an elimination round, where one could fight a tacit battle like Xianyuan Zhantian and Chu Chaoyun and end up with a draw. That would not affect one's points in the ranking matches. Is this Xiao Chen crazy? Fang Yunfei's luck is abundant. The golden dragon is more than 4 feet long. If he wins, his golden dragon will immediately catch up to Wang Quan and the others. That is not all. If he loses, the losses will be even worse. If the strong lose to the weak, the golden dragon will decrease significantly. Fang Yunfei is not weak either. The accumulations of the divine saber gate are not something the heavenly saber pavilion can compare to. If he does not use saber intent, it will be hard to say who will win. All the cultivators in the spectator stands could not understand. In a battle between bladesmen, if one side had saber intent, the final victory would be decided. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen did not intend to use saber intent. At this crucial moment, he gave up on a victory that was within his grasp. Did he not consider the consequences of losing? A complicated expression flashed in Fang Yunfei's eyes. He said sullenly, "Great Jin Nation's divine saber gate, Fang Yunfei, I will ask for your guidance." Xiao. After Fang Yunfei spoke, he held his huge saber with one hand. His stout body burst out with explosive energy. It was like a clump of flames that had been stored for a long time burst out at this moment, causing the air to surge. Fire Cloud Saber Technique. Fang Yunfei roared ferociously and red fiery essence condensed on his huge saber. Clumps of fiery red clouds materialized behind him, giving him a majestic aura. The wind blew, the clouds moved with the wind, gathering wind and cloud. Xiao Chen instantly executed the starting stance of the lightning tribulation saber technique. A strong wind blew and clouds gathered in the surroundings as he drew the lunar shadow saber in his hand. Bang! The sabers clashed. Two completely different but incomparably strong energies clashed. Intense sparks flew in all directions. As the wind blew, it turned into a myriad of colors. Without the support of saber intent, Xiao Chen could not force his opponent back with one saber strike. After all, his opponent walked the path of ferociousness, he was good at clashing head-on. Xiao Chen could only move slowly, slowly gathering his momentum. Dang! 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 The two of them did not take a step back. As their saber lights danced around, they quickly attacked each other. All sorts of energy exploded in the air. it was very intimidating. Flames surged endlessly along with the storm. The two of them moved faster and faster. In a short time, they had exchanged more than 200 moves. The cultivators in the spectator stands could only see two blurry figures, an unending chain of saber lights, flames, and lightning clashing with each other. Boundless sea of fire. Fang Yunfei finished gathering his momentum. After he took 10 steps back, he materialized a hazy sea of fire. It carried a surging heat wave and infused it into his saber technique. Then, he used the ethereal and formless state of clouds to supplement it. Everywhere the saber light passed, there seemed to be fiery images everywhere. Between the real and the fake, the real and the fake. As a genius bladesman himself, Bai Qi paid a lot of attention to the two's match. When he saw Fang Yunfei's move, he nodded slightly and said, "Not bad." He knows that he cannot truly achieve the boundless sea of fire. He uses the ethereal and formless state of the clouds to create the illusion of a boundless sea of fire. However, he still managed to bring out his momentum. Let's see how Xiao Chen deals with this. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up as he scanned the area with his spiritual sense. With one glance, he discovered the true location of Fang Yunfei's attack. Lightning light chop. An intense electric light burst out from the clouds above and gathered on the saber's edge. It formed a dazzling and resplendent saber light as it descended from the sky and clashed with Fang Yunfei's extraordinary boundless sea of fire. As the electric light exploded, the sea of fire in the surroundings shone brightly. The illusionary fiery images vanished like smoke. Fang Yunfei revealed his true appearance in the sea of fire. Earthly lightning tribulation. After breaking his opponent's saber technique in one move, Xiao Chen finally brought the lightning tribulation saber technique's power of wind and cloud to its peak. An electric whirlpool formed, and the true lightning tribulation descended. The lightning-attributed energy stored in the ground quickly surged towards the saber's edge, resonating with the thunderclouds above. This was the rage of thunder. The might of this attack far surpassed Fang Yunfei's expectations. After he received it head-on, his right hand, which held the huge saber, trembled slightly as if his entire hand had gone numb. Heavenly lightning tribulation. Xiao Chen, who was in the air, turned around. His white robes fluttered in the wind and lightning. He looked like a god of thunder as he roared ferociously. The rage of the heavens descending a lightning tribulation, destroying everything. The merciless nature of the great Tao was perfectly infused into Xiao Chen's saber technique. Fang Yunfei, who was on the ground, felt fear in his heart. It was as if he had really angered the heavens and they wanted to destroy him with a lightning tribulation. No, I cannot be affected by his aura. Otherwise, I will die for sure. Fang Yunfei shook his head violently and forcefully dispelled the fear in his heart. There was a "xiu" sound, and boundless flames soared up from the ground. The image of a flaming giant appeared behind him. That giant was like a holy spirit, fighting against the heavens, not fearing the heavenly might. It gathered Fang Yunfei's aura once again. The flaming figure merged with the flaming figure and sent out a long, diagonal flaming saber chi. A heat wave surged out, burning even space. Break! Carrying the rage of the heavens, Xiao Chen shouted, and a ferocious electric light appeared on his saber. It looked like golden snakes dancing wildly as it shot out. The electric light instantly tore apart the diagonal flaming saber chi. Its momentum did not diminish, and it blasted the image behind Fang Yunfei into countless sparks. The saber slid down, and Xiao Chen swung it ferociously. That huge saber, which weighed more than 200 kilograms, flew out gently, giving the impression that it was a piece of wood floating in the air. Dang! However, when the saber landed on the ground, it gave off a loud sound, correcting everyone's misconceptions. As a bladesman, he could not even hold his saber properly. This was a very embarrassing thing. However, Fang Yunfei knew that if Xiao Chen had not pulled back earlier, he would have been the one flying. That would have been even more embarrassing. Fang Yunfei revealed a bitter smile and said, "The difference is too great. Even without saber intent, your saber technique far surpasses mine. There should be one more move after the heavenly lightning tribulation, right? Xiao Chen nodded and said, that's right. There is still the divine lightning tribulation after that. Fang Yunfei sighed softly, the rage of the heavens is already so horrifying. I wonder what the rage of the deities will be like. Many thanks for the lesson. I've lost. Fang Yunfei immediately admitted defeat and stopped fighting. Xiao Chen's 50-meter-long golden dragon in the sky immediately swooped down and swallowed up Fang Yunfei's golden dragon. As the light flickered, Xiao Chen's golden dragon quickly grew to 25 meters, rejoining the ranks of the top contenders. He won again. Unexpectedly, he did not use saber intent to defeat Fang Yunfei. Doesn't that mean that with saber intent, he would only need one move to defeat Fang Yunfei? The people in the spectator stand started discussing in soft voices. They felt that Xiao Chen's strength was even more unfathomable. It was like they would never know how strong he was. The might of the lightning tribulation is not great. I can use the summer saber technique to break it easily. I am not afraid of the heavenly lightning tribulation either. I can use the power of the autumn wind to sweep through the world and break it. If it is just these two moves, I might not even need to use the four-season saber technique. However, the divine lightning tribulation that did not appear at the end is something to be wary of. Since the start of the competition, regardless of whether Bai Qi was willing or not, Xiao Chen was already an unavoidable opponent in his path to the top three. Carrying the 25-meter-long golden dragon, Xiao Chen walked off the wind cloud platform with his head held high. As the golden dragon roared, it filled him with vigor. He quickly replenished his exhausted essence. The competition continued day by day. By the third day, 60 of the 100 rounds had already been completed. Based on the golden dragons above the contenders' heads, the crowd could roughly tell who was stronger. After 60 rounds, they concluded that there were 8 giants in this 5-nation youth competition. They were Sima Lingxian, Bai Qi, Li Tianhua, Wang Quan, Yu Chenxi, Xianyuan Zhantian, Xiao Chen, and Chu Chaoyun. The first 4 were disciples of the 8 noble clans. The last 4 had different backgrounds. The monopoly of the 8 noble clans had been completely broken. This was because the remaining 4 had each lost 1 or 2 out of the 60 rounds. However, these 8 people had not lost a single match. All of them won. Their golden dragons were at least 23 meters long. Chapter 589. In a situation where everyone had the same number of matches, they had already lost 1 or 2 matches before the very end. The remaining 4 people of the noble clan had already lost their qualifications to fight for the top 8. Due to the intentional arrangements of the organizers, the 8 giants did not meet each other in advance. As the competition went on, the strong became stronger and the weak became weaker. The situation became more and more obvious. The strong cultivators had golden dragons circling above their heads. For example, Sima Lingxian was already 25 meters long. He was only 1 meter away from reaching the peak and obtaining all the luck of the 4 dragon veins. As for the weak cultivators like Murong Chong, they had very little dragon chi in the first place. Not only could their golden dragons not break out of their jade pendants, but their luck would also be stolen. The little golden dragon in the jade pendant no longer had any luster. It was no different from a real earthworm. All the geniuses under the starry heavens gathered in the 5-nation youth competition. Who was the true dragon and who was the false dragon would be revealed at this moment. No matter what pride one brought, no matter where one came from, this place did not care about one's background or clan. It only cared about the sword in one's hand and the saber in one's hand. Whoever was strong would obtain luck. If one was weak, they would be stolen by other geniuses, weakening their luck. Even the people of the 8 noble clans were no exception. The 49th match, Noble Clans Bai Qi vs Nangong Ziyue. At this moment, the sun was setting in the west. It looked like it would soon turn dark. After this match, the competition for today would probably end. Nangong Ziyue had only lost 2 matches since the start of the competition. The first was in the elimination round, where she lost to Yu Chenxi. The second was in the ranking matches, where she lost to another noble clan disciple, Li Tianhua. However, the two matches were not one-sided. Furthermore, her opponents were not ordinary cultivators. Although she had lost 2 matches, the crowd did not underestimate her strength. They felt that she could still fight for the top 10. The golden dragon above Nangong Ziyue's head was 23 meters long, slightly shorter than the golden dragons of the 8 giants. Xiao! Bai Qi leaped off his spectator stand and landed on the arena. The golden dragon circling in the sky descended and hovered above Bai Qi's head. The 20-meter-long golden dragon bared its fangs and claws as it glared at Nangong Ziyue's clearly smaller golden dragon. Under the pressure of its aura, Nangong Ziyue's golden dragon cowered, not daring to be impudent. When Bai Zhan saw this scene, he smiled gently and said amiably, "Nangong Ziyue, you are not a match for me. You should just admit defeat and preserve your strength for the next matches." Nangong Ziyue frowned slightly and said sullenly, "We will know if it is true or not after we fight. Li Tianhua defeated me only because his state countered mine. Do you really think that I am someone you can defeat easily?" Bai Qi's expression was neither happy nor angry. He said calmly, "Then make your move. As for Li Tianhua, I have never considered him an opponent." Walala! The sound of flowing water rang out quietly, and the artistic conception of mountains and rivers quietly appeared. Among the overlapping mountains, a river flowed smoothly. Nangong Ziyue stood on the flowing water, drifting with the waves. Her legs did not move, but the mountains moved behind her. Nangong Ziyue's graceful figure gave off a gentle charm. She hid the artistic conception of mountains and rivers in her heart as she moved quickly towards Bai Shuehe in a strange manner. Mountain and river hiding the heart. At the start of this round, Nangong Ziyue had not been able to execute it naturally and smoothly. She could only unleash it at the crucial moment. However, after a few rounds, she had become increasingly familiar with this mountain and river hiding the heart. If Nangong Ziyue ran into Yu Chenxi again, the victor would be hard to predict. This was also why Nangong Ziyue dared to challenge Bai Shuehe. Bang! When Nangong Ziyue arrived before Bai Zhan, the calm and natural Nangong Ziyue suddenly made a move. When she punched, the power of mountains and rivers that had been brewing in her heart for a long time erupted. The fist wind surged, and space trembled. The might of this ordinary punch actually contained half the might of Nangong Ziyue's trump card, the mountain and river-breaking fist. Bai Qi was slightly stunned. His expression was somewhat astonished. He had not expected Nangong Ziyue to have improved so much in such a short period of time. If Nangong Ziyue continued to preserve her strength, she would have to put in more effort to defeat her opponent. Never mind, I have already come this far. It is time to use the 4-season saber technique. Nangong Ziyue is now qualified to use it. After Bai Qi made up his mind, he slowly placed his right hand on his saber's hilt and circulated the first move of the 4-season saber technique. Splash! Splash! Something strange happened. The clear sound of flowing water came from behind Bai Qi. When he drew his saber, the power of the cycle of seasons surged out. Suddenly, the distance between him and Nangong Ziyue lengthened. No matter how fast Nangong Ziyue was, she could not catch up to Bai Qi's punch, which could shatter mountains. Nangong Ziyue remained 1 meter away from Bai Qi. The fist wind caused his clothes and hair to flutter continuously. Xiao! When Bai Qi drew his saber completely, the power of the cycle of seasons erupted. The distance between Bai Qi and Nangong Ziyue immediately widened. It was not that Bai Qi retreated. Instead, it was that the power of the cycle of seasons shattered the power of mountains and rivers that Nangong Ziyue had been building up in her heart for a long time. Thus, her punch broke on its own. Leisurely spring water, suddenly warm, then cold. A river flowed down from the horizon. The water was clear and ethereal. Bai Qi hacked at Nangong Ziyue with his saber. Taking the state of spring water and containing the power of the cycle of seasons, a river-like saber chi quickly flew at Nangong Ziyue, changing between warm and cold. Amid the mountains and rivers, Nangong Ziyue felt a huge saber chi carrying the power of the cycle of seasons sweeping over, increasing the pressure on her. That saber chi was as warm as jade at one moment and bone-chilling in the next. It was hard to fathom. As Nangong Ziyue hesitated, she did not know how to break this move. No matter what trick he played, it was just a strand of saber chi. Immortal mountains and rivers. Break for me. Nangong Ziyue could not guess whether the saber intent was hot or cold. She directly materialized the power of mountains and rivers. One punch was a mountain, the other a river. The mountains and rivers froze, preparing to use force to break technique. Bang! When the saber chi arrived, it was like the heavenly river flowed in reverse. The power of the world surged over. Nangong Ziyue's expression immediately changed. She wanted to use force to break technique. However, she was horrified to discover that the energy contained in this saber chi was much stronger than her immortal mountains and rivers. She could not clash head-on with it. When the state of her fist shattered, Nangong Ziyue vomited a mouthful of blood. She used the power of mountains and rivers to quickly retreat among the mountains and rivers, resolving the energy contained in the saber chi. Rumble! Rumble! Instantly, waves surged and the mountains trembled. The energy contained in the saber chi was very strong. Just the remnant waves caused the mysterious phenomenon of mountains and rivers that Nangong Ziyue materialized to show signs of instability. Is this the power of the four-season saber technique? How strong! Unexpectedly, it nearly broke Nangong Ziyue's entire state of mountains and rivers in one move. Only Nangong Ziyue can continue. When the other cultivators encountered this saber strike, any state they had would crumble immediately. Earlier, he broke Nangong Ziyue's attack in half a move. The moment he drew his saber, Nangong Ziyue's attack crumbled. Based on this Bai Qi is even stronger than Li Tianhua. In this five-nation youth competition, he is the person most likely to defeat Sima Lingxian. The other noble clan disciples are no match for him. When the many cultivators in the spectator stands saw this startling saber strike, the four-season saber technique that they had been waiting for finally appeared. Everyone's hearts immediately surged. Their faces flushed red, and their emotions surged. You are still not willing to admit defeat? Bai Qi frowned slightly, appearing somewhat angry. His saber trembled slightly, and a misty saber intent started accumulating. He said sullenly, 18 heaven-breaking saber strikes. First saber strike, second saber strike, third saber strike, fourth saber strike. Bai Qi stood rooted to the ground, not moving at all. Then, he executed another strong martial technique. As the saber light danced, a boundless light spread out. This was because the saber chi was too dense, giving off a faint light. Bai Qi's peak small perfection saber intent shot out together with the saber chi towards the mountains that Nangong Ziyue materialized. Bang! 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 With the support of the saber intent, the might of the 18 heaven-breaking saber strikes reached its peak. Every time Bai Qi sent out a saber strike, a mountain peak would shatter. After the 18th saber strike, the mountains and rivers were all destroyed. The state of mountains and rivers that Nangong Ziyue was so proud of had been completely destroyed by Bai Qi in an extremely cruel manner, leaving nothing behind. The mountains could no longer be seen, and the rivers could no longer be seen. Only the boundless saber light and the misty saber intent remained, resounding in all directions. It was as Bai Qi had said before. As long as he chopped down the mountains and shattered the rivers, no matter how strong a state was, it would just be a decoration before absolute strength. Roar! When Nangong Ziyue was defeated, the golden dragon above her head cried out miserably. Bai Qi's golden dragon had devoured 1.5 meters of its length. Its luster dimmed significantly, and it looked weak and listless. On the other hand, the golden dragon above Bai Qi bared its fangs and brandished its claws, roaring ferociously. Its eyes were spirited, and its aura was very ferocious. It was now 25 meters long, catching up to Sima Lingxuan's 25 meters. As Xiao Qin recalled Bai Qi's four-season saber technique, he entered deep thought. This was different from what he had imagined. Originally, when Bai Qi learned the four-season saber technique, he would have comprehended it on his own. Now, it looked like he was wrong. Bai Qi's path was the same as the Bai clan's ancestors. It was probably after Bai Shuehe successfully comprehended the four-season saber technique, he passed on his comprehensions and experiences to his descendants. Now that he had a rough idea, Xiao Qin muttered to himself, if I follow the path of my predecessors, naturally, I will be able to take many detours, and it will be much easier. However, this four-season saber technique is different from other martial techniques. It does not have a fixed state. Comprehending it on one's own is the most suitable. Simply put, if Bai Qi only followed Bai Shuehe's path, he would lose miserably when he met Xiao Qin. There would not be any surprises. However, Lu Suifeng, who was at the side, was astonished. He was also a person who practiced the saber. He could feel the vast might of that leisurely spring water more clearly than others. He sighed and said, what a strong saber technique. No wonder others say that the four-season saber technique is the strongest martial technique under heaven ranked. It truly lives up to its reputation. The surrounding elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion all nodded to themselves. Even if it were them, they would not be able to turn the situation around, they would only suffer a crushing defeat. Chapter 590. The first elder, Jiang Qi, asked, Xiao Qin, how is your practice of the Lightning Tribulation Saber Technique's final move, Divine Lightning Tribulation? Xiao Qin thought for a while before replying, I do not dare to compare myself to the ancestor. However, I can still easily bring out 70 to 80% of its might. Jiang Qi smiled and nodded. Then, he said with some regret, the Lightning Tribulation Saber Technique was created by our sect's ancestor. If you could comprehend the state of wind, the state of cloud, and the state of thunder, you might be able to compete with this Bai Qi. Ha ha. However, it is fine. Being able to enter the top 10 is the best result the Heavenly Saber Pavilion has achieved in the past few thousand years. Xiao Qin, don't be too depressed. Xiao Qin smiled gently and held the lunar shadow saber in his hand. He did not say anything. Match 50, Sima Lingxian vs Gong Yangyu. This was the 92nd round of the five-nation youth competition. This match was the final match of the day. The two participants from the previous five-nation youth competition would fight each other. This made everyone somewhat excited. Gong Yangyu is pretty strong. His golden dragon is 23 meters long. He has only lost 3 matches in the ranking matches. Even if he loses this match, he still has a high chance of getting into the top 10. I wonder how much of Sima Lingxuan's strength he can force out. Sima Lingxian has been winning too easily. Indeed. Just his oppressive self-confidence is enough to make one feel suffocated. How can one have the confidence to fight him? Without a doubt, everyone could predict the result of this match. The only thing they were uncertain of was how much of Sima Lingxuan's strength Gong Yangyu could force out. After all, no matter what, Gong Yangyu's strength was clear for all to see. This was especially so for that tossing heaven and earth. It could even shatter space. Several giants did not dare to receive it head-on. How would Sima Lingxian deal with this move? In the wind cloud platform, Sima Lingxian wore long robes. There was not much expression on his handsome face. The self-confidence in his chest seemed to be one with the world. When one looked at him, there seemed to be a faint glow on his body. It flickered constantly. With one glance, one could tell that he was extraordinary. Under the pressure of Sima Lingxuan's confidence, Gong Yangyu took a deep breath and expelled the negative thoughts in his heart. Without saying anything more, he swung his black staff around and walked towards Sima Lingxian. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 7 steps. With every step Gong Yangyu took, an afterimage would appear on the ground. Each afterimage held the staff in a different posture. By the time Gong Yangyu finished taking 7 steps, his aura had already reached its peak. The pressure that Sima Lingxian gave Xiaochen earlier was swept away. His gaze turned sharp as he swung his staff around like a dragon or snake dancing in the wind. This was Gong Yangyu's specialty, Everlasting Universe. By combining 7 ultimate attacks, he could suppress his opponent with absolute offensive power. Back then, even Xiaochen didn't face this move head-on because its power was too great, and it wasn't worth it to face it head-on. Sima Lingxuan's expression remained calm as he looked at the staff strike that could shatter mountains. Then, he took a step forward. 1 step. Just 1 step, and the situation on the field was immediately turned around. A boundless strong wind blew from Sima Lingxian. The clouds in the sky churned endlessly. As the wind blew and the clouds churned, a vast state of kingship erupted from Sima Lingxuan's body and soared into the sky. Tyrannical, supreme, undefeatable, absolute, all sorts of auras of kingship came from Sima Lingxuan's body. Unexpectedly, the state he comprehended was the state of kingship. As the saying went, everything under the heavens belongs to the king. Unexpectedly, Sima Lingxian made this state of kingship his main state. After Gong Yangyu took 7 steps, the momentum of heaven and earth that he gathered was immediately suppressed by Sima Lingxuan's 1 gentle step. Ka Xie. Sima Lingxian grasped his sword hilt with his right hand and drew it. Riding on this momentum of kingship, he displayed his sharpness wantonly, giving off an undefeatable aura that could sweep through the world. The sword and staff clashed, and countless cracks immediately appeared on the wind cloud platform under the two. The 2 strong forces clashed continuously. Gong Yangyu clenched his teeth and endured. Unexpectedly, he did not retreat immediately. Weng! 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 The tip of Sima Lingxuan's sword trembled and a vast sword intent poured out. The might of this sword increased explosively. Gong Yangyu was instantly no match for it. He took 9 steps back and vomited a large mouthful of blood. Sovereign descending. Sima Lingxian shouted and took another step forward. The vast state of kingship was like an ancient mountain pressing down on Xiaochen. When Sima Lingxian swung his sword, it was like a sovereign descending. The surrounding wind-attributed essence quickly surged towards the tip of the sword like it was paying homage to the king. With the boundless strong wind pouring in, this sword was unimaginably fast. Gong Yangyu could only rely on his senses to block with his staff across his chest. Bang! Gong Yangyu had just made his move and had yet to infuse his essence into a defensive stance when the sword struck his staff, splitting it in half. When the sword wind blew, Gong Yangyu flew backward like a broken kite. He crashed into the wind cloud barrier and bounced heavily before landing on the ground. Gong Yangyu knelt on 1 knee. Under his tattered clothes, horrifying sword wounds spread all over his chest. The sword intent hidden in the wounds had not faded yet. His wounds seemed to be growing more severe. Gong Yangyu knew that he had lost. He had barely managed to block 2 moves. The difference was too great. He smiled bitterly to himself. He did not know if there was anyone who could defeat him in this 5-nation youth competition. My skills are inferior. Gong Yangyu admits defeat. Gong Yangyu stood up and chose to admit defeat. Sima Lingxian sheathed his sword. After the golden dragon above his head swallowed for a while, it grew to 8 and 7 inches long. Now, it was less than half an inch long and would be 23 meters long. This is probably Sima Lingxuan's true strength. Unexpectedly, he comprehended the state of kingship from the state of wind and cloud, which is higher than any other attributed state. Compared to 3 years ago, Sima Lingxuan's strength has increased at a horrifying rate. I finally know why he is not afraid of the 4-season saber technique. When he executes a powerful sword technique with the state of kingship, it is sufficient to resist the power of the cycle of seasons. However, we will only know what will happen after they fight. The 2 of them have not used their full strength yet. The battle between the giants tomorrow will definitely be interesting to watch. However, I still favor Sima Lingxian. He has only revealed the tip of the iceberg. Bai Qi has revealed at least 60% of his strength. In the final match of this round, Sima Lingxian finally revealed the absolute strength of the top-seeded participant. Gong Yangyu, who was ranked in the top 10 of the previous 5-nation youth competition, lost to Sima Lingxian in 2 moves, unable to resist at all. Li Tianhua looked at the golden dragon above Sima Lingxuan's head and shook his head. He smiled bitterly and said, "It is truly a tragedy to be in the same generation as him. It seems like all the stars in the sky are on his head. We are just supporting characters." Xianyuan Zhantian's unruly face revealed a grave expression. After a while, he smiled gently and said, "The state of kingship is really coincidental." The 92 rounds of matches were already over, but the 8 giants had not fought yet. In that case, in the final 8 rounds tomorrow, the 8 of them would have to fight each other. From the start of the ranking matches until now, the 8 giants had not lost a single match. Sima Lingxian, Li Tianhua, Bai Qi, Wang Quan, Chu Chaoyun, Xianyuan Zhantian, Yu Chenxi, and Xiao Chen were tied for first place. However, since ancient times, there had been no first place in literature and no second place in martial arts. How could there be a situation where 8 people were first? In the battle between the giants tomorrow, there would definitely be a victor and a loser among the 8. The true dragon ranking would also be decided. Who could rank first and obtain the luck of the world, becoming the main character of this era? Before the sun set tomorrow, everything would come to an end. The age of geniuses would officially begin at that moment. The long night finally passed amidst the cheers of the crowd. The wind cloud platform was packed with people, their voices were loud. Before the matches started, the atmosphere had already heated up. Everyone was waiting for the moment when the giants would fight. They were waiting for the moment when the true heroes reached the peak. They wanted to see who was the main character of this era. First match, Lu Xiaoyun vs Lin Fei. The first match of the 93rd round officially started. However, it was not the anticipated match between the giants, which disappointed everyone. However, the 2 people in the wind cloud platform were experts of their own domains. Their matches would not be boring. When facing the genius bladesman Lin Fei, Lu Xiaoyun did not get careless. He would not make the same mistake as he did against Chu Chaoyun. He used his full power from the start. A cold wind howled, and frost instantly covered the wind cloud platform. As Lu Xiaoyun sent out his sword intent, snowflakes drifted down. The various powerful techniques of the drifting snow sword sect were perfectly executed in Lu Xiaoyun's hands. At this moment, Lin Fei was much more mature than when he first started the 5-nation youth competition. There was no longer any arrogance in Lin Fei's eyes. Instead, there was only seriousness and caution. He was clearly enduring. Dang! 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 Saber lights shot out everywhere, and sword images filled the air. Sword chi and saber chi moved about wantonly. The strength that the 2 displayed was equal. In terms of saber intent and sword intent, they did not give way to each other. However, Lu Xiaoyun's state of ice was stronger than Lin Fei's state of earth. Based on the current situation, Lu Xiaoyun held a slight advantage. However, this was only temporary. Everyone knew that Lin Fei still had not used the earth vein saber technique. If Lu Xiaoyun could block that unpredictable earth vein saber technique, he would be confident of obtaining victory. If he could not block it, the victor would be hard to predict. Xiao. As the saber hummed, Lin Fei, who had been silent for a long time, finally found the most suitable opportunity to execute the earth vein saber technique. A strand of cold saber chi exploded the ice on the ground and quickly headed for Lu Xiaoyun's chest. Lu Xiaoyun smiled gently, not flustered at all. He said, "I have been waiting for you for a long time." Absolute Ice Shadow Sword. The surrounding temperature plummeted. Lu Xiaoyun's upper body trembled. Before everyone's shocked gazes, he split into 2. 2 strands of sword light flickered. One blocked the attack from Lin Fei's main body while the other blocked the saber chi shooting out from the ground. When the two figures merged back together, Lin Fei's eyes widened. When the two figures merged back together, a cold chill turned into a snow-white sword chi and shot out from the sword, forcing Lin Fei back. With the earth vein saber technique broken, Lin Fei could not gain the upper hand with his saber intent. His state was also slightly weaker. After 100 moves, Lin Fei could only helplessly admit defeat. Lu Xiaoyun sheathed his sword and said softly, "Thank you for letting me win." This battle had proven Lu Xiaoyun's reputation. His miserable defeat at the hands of Chu Qiaoyun was not because he was weak or because the disparity was too great. It was because he had been careless. Chapter 591. Second match, Feng Hua vs. Lu Chang. Just like that, another 5 matches passed. None of them were battles between giants, causing the cultivators who were anxiously waiting to watch the battles between giants to feel a sense of irritation. Just as this frustration reached its peak, the referee in the arena finally called out the names of the giants. 12th match, Eastern Sea's Little Dragon King, Xianyuan Zhantian vs. the noble clans Li Tianhua. The entire arena immediately erupted into an uproar. It's finally time for the giants to fight. The 8 giants only have 8 matches left. They all have the same number of points. Every match will determine their final ranking, so they will definitely do their best. Indeed, at this moment, they cannot hide their strength. Otherwise, if they lose, they might lose the chance to fight for the first rank. Xianyuan Zhantian vs. Li Tianhua. Both of their strengths are unfathomable. I wonder who will win. One is a coiling dragon of the continent, and the other is a flood dragon of the Eastern Sea. This can be considered a fight between 2 dragons. Ha ha. Everyone's gaze is focused on the wind cloud platform. All sorts of discussions rang out. When all the voices merged together, it was very noisy. In the crowd, Xiaochen also looked over. These 2 people were worthy of being called giants, especially Xianyuan Zhantian. Xiaochen felt that Xianyuan Zhantian's strength was much more horrifying than he showed. Xianyuan Zhantian was one of his strongest opponents. After the 2 giants ascended the wind cloud platform, the noisy discussions quickly stopped. Everyone stared at the wind cloud platform. The 2 of them stood in a corner of the arena and looked at each other. Their sharp auras clashed intensely in the air. Before they even made a move, strong winds blew continuously. Li Tianhua smiled gently and said, "I have long heard that there is an absolute genius in the Eastern Boundless Sea, known as the Eastern Sea's Little Dragon King. Now that I see him, he truly lives up to his reputation." Xianyuan Zhantian held his heavenly war halberd and remained silent. He knew that the other party still had something to say. Indeed, Li Tianhua stopped smiling. His gaze became as sharp as a sword. He said sullenly, "Unfortunately, this is the Tianwu continent, not the Boundless Sea. There is no water here. What can you do?" Xianyuan Zhantian's expression did not change. He said indifferently, "If you really think that way, you will probably suffer a miserable defeat." Their words clashed with each other, and their auras refused to give in to each other. Immediately, the 2 of them were filled with the smell of gunpowder, as if they would explode at any moment. Boom! After a long moment of silence, when the atmosphere had reached its pinnacle, the 2 of them suddenly moved at the same time. 2 blurry silhouettes crossed each other in the air. Their speed was as fast as lightning. Everyone could vaguely see 2 dragon-shaped gases entangling and tearing at each other in the air. Li Tianhua's spear transformed into a coiling dragon, known as the true dragon of the land. There was also the flood dragon transformed from the heavenly battle halberd, known as the overlord of the sea and the king of the abyss. Bang, bang, bang. As the spear and halberd clashed, a thunderous boom resounded on the stage. As the flood dragon soared up and down, the sound of seawater rang out as it moved. The coiling dragon stood firmly on the ground. When it was still, it was like a towering mountain, not trembling. When it moved, it was like lava erupting, destroying the world. The two of them used the special characteristics of the flood dragon and the coiling dragon to infuse into their martial techniques, bringing them out to their fullest. The state of the battle made everyone sigh in amazement. It was like there were really two dragons fighting on the stage. However, no matter what, the coiling dragon was on land. After more than 100 moves, Xianyuan Zhantian's overwhelming attacks crumbled. On the other hand, Li Tianhua's counterattacks caused Xianyuan Zhantian to suffer a small disadvantage. The situation did not look good for him. Ha ha! What Eastern Sea's little dragon king? You are only a so-so. Receive my double dragon playing with a pearl. Now that Li Tianhua had the upper hand, he laughed loudly. His spear moved left and right, forming two indistinguishable spear images. Each of the spears materialized a ferocious coiling dragon. The instant the spear images merged, the two coiling dragons roared ferociously and charged over. Based on the ferocious look in the coiling dragon's eyes, they clearly treated Xianyuan Zhantian as a toy. Xianyuan Zhantian smiled gently and scattered the dragon images circling his war halberd. He said sullenly, "Two false dragons, do you really think of yourselves as true dragons? Today, even if you are a true dragon, you will still have to coil up." Bang! The tip of the heavenly war halberd struck the wind cloud platform heavily. Cracks immediately appeared on the flat platform. Countless strands of dragon chi leaked out, and dragon roars resounded endlessly. A vast sea appeared behind Xianyuan Zhantian. The blue waves stretched as far as the eye could see. As Xianyuan Zhantian stood on the sea, a state of kingship suddenly burst out from his body. The waves surged into the sky, and 18 pillars of water shot up. The state of kingship soared into the sky. The king of the sea. He actually comprehended the state of kingship as well. When Li Tianhua saw this scene, he could not help but reveal a flustered expression. Ha ha ha! Lie down for me. Xianyuan Zhantian laughed maniacally and thrust his hands forward. The two coiling dragons, which had been toying with him, suddenly turned around. The two coiling dragons, which were originally toying with him, were immediately pressed down on the vast sea, letting out miserable cries. Just two little worms and you dare to show off before me? Die! Xianyuan Zhantian shouted ferociously. His thick eyebrows knitted together tightly, and his face filled with rage. He squeezed the dragon heads with both hands. Ka-xie. There was a faint scarlet light. Xianyuan Zhantian broke the heads of the two coiling dragons made of essence. Xianyuan Zhantian held one dragon head in each hand and casually tossed it aside. Li Tianhua's double dragon playing with pearl was destroyed just like that. Li Tianhua's expression turned sullen. He clenched his teeth and said, "Good. Good. Good. How dare you humiliate me like this? Xianyuan Zhantian, I do not care if you are the Eastern Sea's king. Now that we are in the Tianwu continent, Li Tianhua will beat you up into a worm." Li Tianhua shouted loudly and exerted strength in his abdomen. Strange sounds came from his throat, and the rumbling sound waves spread out from his mouth. They formed storm-like ripples, causing the wind cloud platform to tremble continuously. Unexpectedly, Li Tianhua used his body of flesh and blood to roar like a coiling dragon. The hundreds of thousands of cultivators in the spectator stands all felt their scalps go numb. That sound wave seemed to penetrate into their minds, making them feel a resolute rage. Li Tianhua looked like a ferocious coiling dragon. As he walked, cracks appeared on the ground. Strands of dragon chi soared up. However, the dragon roar contained in the dragon chi was completely suppressed by his roar. Coiling dragon rage, heaven falls and earth rends. Li Tianhua held his spear and pointed it at the sky. His spear flickered with light, materializing the power of a coiling dragon. It seemed like it wanted to shatter the sky and earth, to crush Xianyuan Zhantian, the ruler of the four seas, into a meat patty. Xianyuan Zhantian's lips curled up in a mocking expression. He snorted coldly and said, "How foolish! An insignificant ordinary dragon dares to compete with me?" Xianyuan Zhantian grabbed the heavenly war halberd that he had stabbed into the wind cloud platform with his right hand. Then, he roared loudly, and a vast state of kingship surged out from his chest and throat. Bang! 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 The golden sound wave contained the rage of a king as it clashed with Li Tianhua's coiling dragon rage. Ka-xie! Ka-xie! Crunching sounds rang out continuously. The sound wave that Li Tianhua sent out was all shattered. Ripples spread out in the air, forming chaotic ripples that caused the entire space to appear blurry and hazy. The roars of the two giants created such a mysterious phenomenon. The cultivators in the spectator stands were all filled with praise when they saw this. Coiling dragon rage, blood splashes the mountains and rivers. Holding the heavenly war halberd, Xianyuan Zhantian clashed with Li Tianhua once again, supported by the state of kingship. When he attacked, he knocked back his opponent by 100 meters. After knocking back Li Tianhua with one move, Xianyuan Zhantian laughed loudly and quickly took a few steps forward. With every step he took, waves surged up and down, materializing the boundless momentum of a vast ocean. Defeat! 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 Waves surged into the sky. Xianyuan Zhantian's every move was accompanied by the vast state of kingship, forcing Li Tianhua into a retreat. Damn it! Blood leaked out of a corner of Li Tianhua's lips. He revealed an expression of dissatisfaction in his eyes. He was a true dragon, unrivaled on land. He should have been able to easily defeat Xianyuan Zhantian. However, who could have imagined that Xianyuan Zhantian would comprehend his own state of kingship from the unending state of water? Turning into the ruler of the four seas, he managed to overcome his disadvantage. In the final 8 rounds, if one lost, one would lose the right to fight for the first rank. Li Tianhua roared loudly, "I am not satisfied." 9 dragons swallowing the heavens. 9 majestic ancient coiling dragons appeared together with Li Tianhua's spear light. They bared their fangs and roared maniacally. Ha 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 ha, how laughable. You are just an ordinary dragon and you dare to speak of swallowing the heavens? Li Tianhua, you are not qualified. I am the ruler of the four seas, the son of the yellow sky. Today, I will represent the heavens to punish you. Xianyuan Zhantian revealed an expression of disdain. He laughed loudly, and the vast ocean behind him soared up. 9 dragon images appeared on the heavenly war halberd as well. However, those dragon images were deeply carved into the halberd. The vast heavenly might turned into the state of kingship. The halberd gave off a bright golden light. Every strand of golden light was formed by the pure state of kingship. It was even stronger than Yu Chenxi's morning sun fist. Xianyuan Zhantian swung his right hand forward, holding the end of the heavenly war halberd with one hand. He swept out with an unparalleled aura, and the 9 ancient coiling dragons shattered. Xianyuan Zhantian took another step forward, moving to a blind spot in Li Tianhua's defense. Then, he switched the heavenly war halberd to his left hand and flicked it forward. Li Tianhua was sent flying like a sandbag. Bang! 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 Although it looked like a gentle flick, the force contained in it was startling. Blood leaked out of Li Tianhua's mouth. His clothes tore and eventually turned into dust. The crowd was dumbfounded. As they looked at the godlike Xianyuan Zhantian, they felt a sense of worship in their hearts. This state of kingship was no weaker than Sima Lingshuan's. Victory, Xianyuan Zhantian. You have gained another 2 points. The referee's calm voice rang out, pulling the crowd's attention back to reality. They saw that Li Tianhua's 23-meter-long golden dragon had dimmed significantly. It had shrunk by 3 meters, becoming a second-rate dragon. After defeating a major character like Li Tianhua, Xianyuan Zhantian's golden dragon gave off a bright light. It grew to 23 meters, no weaker than Bai Qi's. Chapter 592. This is the strength of a true giant. How unfortunate for Li Tianhua. In the end, he is not a true dragon of the continent. Finally, there is one more person who can compete with Sima Lingxian. Of the 8 giants, only 7 remain. Let's see how many giants will fall in this round. Basically, as long as one loses a match, they will lose their qualifications to fight for the top. In the last few rounds, the number of people who can reach the top will shrink. Xianyuan Zhantian strode forward with his head held high. He ignored Li Tianhua, who was lying on the ground with an expression of dissatisfaction and rage. Next round, Shaochen vs. Wang Quan. The referee on the wind cloud platform announced the names of the 2 sides in the next match. The cultivators in the spectator stands, who were immersed in the earlier match, immediately burst into an uproar. Awesome! Another giant battle. Although Wang Quan is clearly weaker than Bai Qi and the others, his opponent is Xiao Chen. The result of this match is hard to predict. That's right. Earlier, Wang Quan used many moves to defeat Gong Yangyu. However, he was able to defeat Lin Fei in one move. He is stronger than Xiao Chen. Based on the strength that he revealed, Wang Quan should be stronger than Xiao Chen. Although the 8 giants were ranked first, the crowd could still use the strength that they revealed to determine who was stronger. Naturally, Sima Lingxian and Bai Qi were ranked first. Xianyuan Zhantian and Chu Chaoyun were ranked second. Yu Chenxi, Li Tianhua, and Wang Quan were ranked third. Xiao Chen was ranked last. However, no matter what, this was just a guess. Who was stronger and who was weaker could only be determined after a fight. On the wind cloud platform, Wang Quan held the handle of the dragon fiend whip in his right hand and held the whip in his left hand. As he looked at the white-robed Xiao Chen, he did not rush to make a move. A deep light flashed in Wang Quan's eyes. After thinking for a while, he said, "White-robed bladesman Xiao Chen, the only cultivator to reach the 8th floor of the ancient desolate tower in the past 1,000 years. Actually, I have heard of you long ago. You are very strong. However, your weakness prevents you from reaching the top. Do you know what your weakness is?" Although Wang Quan's voice was not loud, the cultivators in the spectator stand still heard him clearly. Naturally, they had heard of the ancient desolate tower before. When they saw Xiao Chen's calm expression, shock filled their eyes. Unexpectedly, this white-robed bladesman had such a glorious past despite his silent consecutive victories. He was too low-key. Unexpectedly, he had managed to reach the 8th floor of the ancient desolate tower. Just based of this, his background was already comparable to that of the heirs of the 8 noble clans. Xiao Chen looked at Wang and said interestedly. "Xiao, Wang of Wang. Xiao Xiao Disoff of desolate descend, Xiao. Of Tianoff, of Xiao, of Desi's of Dao, of Chen, Xiao, of." When Xiao Chen heard this, he was slightly stunned. However, his expression did not change. Wang Quan was right. Xiao Chen's cultivation was indeed too low. Even the weakest of the 8 giants was a great perfection half-step martial monarch. The stronger ones were peak consummation half-step martial monarchs. As for Xiao Chen, he was only a small perfection half-step martial monarch. However, this was not a problem. The Purple Thunder Divine Incantation was a supreme cultivation technique of immortal cultivators. It was comparable to a heaven-ranked cultivation technique of cultivators. Xiao Chen's essence was abundant and dense, he could only be stronger than those people. Unless those people had already opened their sea of consciousness and started to use their mental energy to refine quintessence, it would be somewhat problematic. Of course, that was all there was to it. An expression of understanding flashed on Wang Quan's face. He continued, "You have figured out the problem, right?" "That's right. As far as I know, Bai Qi already opened his sea of consciousness 3 months ago. Now, 1/5 of the essence in his body has probably been refined into quintessence. Sima Lingxian is even more incredible, he already opened his sea of consciousness half a year ago." Xiao Chen's expression remained calm. He could tell that the other party was trying to break his mental state. He interrupted, let's cut to the chase. About 1/10 of your essence should have been refined into quintessence, right? You can try and see if I can reach the top. After Xiao Chen's words hit the nail on the head, Wang Quan's expression sank. He smiled coldly and said, the strength of quintessence is not something you can imagine. Originally, I wanted you to back off. However, since you want to fight, I can only grant your wish. Xiao Chen released the coiled dragon fiend whip with his left hand and infused his quintessence into it. The soft whip instantly seemed to come to life. It tore a small crack in space as it descended towards Xiao Chen. As the whip slid down, the tiny spatial crack rapidly closed. Clearly, although the whip could break through the void, it was still a little forceful. Pa! The speed at which the dragon fiend whip descended was as fast as lightning, as swift as a rabbit. With a shwa sound, it shattered the afterimage that Xiao Chen left behind. Then, the whip landed on the ground. A crack immediately appeared on the wind cloud platform. Boundless dragon chi spread out. A casual whip possessed such might, flabbergasting everyone. A strange look flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. He turned around and executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art, moving quickly around the wind cloud platform, dodging the whip's sharpness. There were very few people in the Tianwu continent who could use a whip. This was because the whip technique was too difficult to practice. It was a test of talent. However, once someone reached great perfection, they would be very difficult to deal with, just like Wang Quan before Xiao Chen. Wang Quan brought out the unpredictable characteristics of the whip technique to its limits. Then, he used his quintessence to supplement it. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen kept retreating, unable to find a good counterattack. Indeed, essence cannot compare to quintessence. The difference is too great. This Wang Quan actually opened his sea of consciousness. This time, Xiao Chen is going to lose for sure. How unfortunate. He did not have enough time to grow. The Saiyans are all 2 or 3 years older than him. Otherwise, he would have started refining his quintessence as well. Cultivation is indeed his weakness. No matter how good his techniques are, there is nothing he can do about it. As the spectators watched Xiao Chen dodge left and right, they all felt pity for him, feeling that it was not worth it. Hee hee. White-robed bladesman, didn't you already comprehend saber intent? Your saber techniques have also reached great perfection. Why do you not even dare to draw your saber? As Wang Quan held the dragon fiend whip, he had a faint smile on his face as he brandished it. At one moment, it was as soft as a venomous snake coming out of its hole. At another moment, it was as hard as 1,000 cold mountains. The dragon fiend whip was like an extra arm in Wang Quan's hand. Wang Quan was very adept at switching between hard and soft. He executed all sorts of martial techniques that could only be executed with the whip. They rained down on Xiao Chen like a torrential storm. As the whip moved, it formed an impenetrable light screen, forcing Xiao Chen back step by step. The quintessence infused into the dragon fiend whip raised the might of this light screen to the limit. As the whip images flew around, it seemed like they sliced space apart. Wang Quan glanced at the wind cloud barrier not far behind Xiao Chen. He smiled coldly and said, "Are you still not going to draw your saber?" Netherworld demonic whip. Wang Quan swung his wrist thrice in the air. In that instant, the 2-meter-long dragon fiend whip sent out thousands of whip images. They turned into countless sinister and horrifying evil spirits from other worlds. They danced around chaotically, looking like the 9 layers of purgatory. There was no way back. If he went forward, it would be a purgatory made up of whip images. Wang Quan was forcing Xiao Chen to clash head-on with him. Since there was no way to retreat and no way to advance, then he would fight. Xiao Chen stopped and rooted himself to the ground. He stood firmly on the wind cloud platform like an ancient tree. An intense storm blew from the front, causing his clothes and hair to flutter. However, his body did not move at all. He had a prideful air, not fearing this purgatory. Even more so, he did not fear the quintessence on the whip images. Xiao Chen grasped the saber hilt with his right hand and slowly drew the lunar shadow saber by an inch. As a light flickered, his saber intent rose continuously. 10%, 20%, 30%, peak small perfection, 40%, it continued to rise. When the long, pitch-black lunar shadow saber was completely drawn, Xiao Chen unleashed his peak saber intent uncontrollably. The dazzling saber light dazzled and flabbergasted everyone. 60%. It really is a 60% comprehended saber intent. Although it has not reached perfect control, it really is a 60% comprehended saber intent. It completely surpasses Bai Qi's peak small perfection saber intent. He is only a step away from great perfection. With this, even Sima Lingshuan's sword intent will not be able to suppress his saber intent. The cultivators in the spectators' stands discussed this. They had not expected Xiao Chen to have such a trump card. They were not the only ones shocked. The expressions of the 8 giants turned grave as well. This was especially so for Bai Qi, a look of shock flashed in his eyes. All along, Bai Qi had considered himself to be the top bladesman of the Tianwu continent's younger generation. However, the saber intent that Xiao Chen brought out completely shattered this halo. Xiao Chen's saber intent was 20% higher than Bai Qi's. Bai Qi clenched his right fist tightly and consoled himself, saber intent is nothing. I have the 4-season saber technique. No bladesman will be a match for me. Absolutely not. When Chu Chaoyun saw this scene, he smiled gently and said, 60% comprehended saber intent. Although it is not mature, it is sufficient to stand out from the crowd. The people of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion and Bai, who were originally worried for Xiao Chen, all heaved a sigh of relief. Xiao! 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 Xiao Chen had yet to fully grasp the 60% comprehended saber intent. Strands of extremely strong saber wind surged out uncontrollably in all directions. The fiendish demons and malicious spirits formed by quintessence were all chopped into nothingness. The fiendish demons and malicious spirits could not resist at all. The strength of the 60% comprehended saber intent far surpassed everyone's expectations. Wang Quan had only refined a tenth of his quintessence, it was not enough. The situation of the battlefield instantly turned around. The wind blew, the clouds moved, and the clouds gathered with the wind. With the support of the 60% comprehended saber intent, Xiao Chen executed the starting stance of the lightning tribulation saber technique. It carried the momentum of the wind and clouds as it chopped down countless fiendish demons and malicious spirits, breaking through hell. When the saber light struck Wang Quan's protective quintessence, there was a dang sound. The quintessence shield trembled, but it did not shatter. Blood leaked out of Wang Quan's mouth. He laughed loudly and said, I have a quintessence shield. I am naturally undefeatable. Your 60% comprehended saber intent is not dense enough. You will not be able to break my quintessence shield. Ignorant? Do I need to break it? Xiao Chen said softly. The crystal chi whirlpool in his body spun rapidly. The surging essence gathered on the saber. With the support of the saber intent, the leaping electric light looked like a resplendent purple sun. Bang! Chapter 593. Xiao Chen brought out all of his essence, supported by his 60% comprehended saber intent and the peak state of thunder. With one saber strike, Wang Quan vomited a mouthful of blood as he went flying. That strong quintessence shield fluctuated and rippled, but it did not shatter. However, the pure force that passed through it caused Wang Quan's internal organs to be in a mess. Stop fighting, I admit defeat. Wang Quan, who landed on the ground, felt incredible pain. When he saw that Xiao Chen still wanted to continue fighting, he quickly admitted defeat. Wang Quan's quintessence was nearly exhausted. If Xiao Chen attacked again, his originally insufficient quintessence would shatter. Xiao Chen's golden dragon immediately swallowed up another 3 meters of the 23-meter-long golden dragon above him. Its light dimmed, and it was only 15 meters long. Xiao Chen's golden dragon was dazzling and full of vigor. It was 25 meters long. Sheathing his saber, Xiaochen prepared to leave the arena. He paused for a while and said to Wang Quan, "My cultivation is indeed not high. However, you cannot stop me. Even without this 60% comprehended saber intent, I can still defeat you easily." 60% comprehended saber intent and the gathering of wind and clouds, Xiaochen defeated Wang Quan, one of the giants, in one move. Even though Wang Quan had a high cultivation, even opened his sea of consciousness, and refined a tenth of his essence into quintessence, he was still not a match for Xiaochen. When Xiaochen revealed another trump card, the so-called tenth of his quintessence was no longer sufficient. At this moment, no one thought that Xiaochen was the weakest of the 8 giants. With such strength, he could compete with Bai Qi. If Xiaochen was more daring, he might be able to fight with Sima Lingxian. However, his chances of victory would be slightly lower. Next match, Nangong Ziyue against Baiming Shang. This was another match between the noble clan disciples. Although the two had lost a few matches earlier and lost the fight for the top 8, their strength was still there. However, his strength was still there, and he was a popular contender for the top 10. This battle was still quite eye-catching. Baiming Shang excelled at palm techniques. His lamenting palm perfectly materialized the emotionless Tao. His palm technique was cold and emotionless. Every move contained a strong might. However, Baiming Shang's opponent was Nangong Ziyue. Her state of mountain and water was as calm as rippling water. However, when it moved, it shook the ground. She did not fear his emotionless Tao. The two were evenly matched. After exchanging 400 moves, an opening appeared in Baiming Shang's emotionless Tao. Nangong Ziyue took advantage of this opportunity to obtain victory. With only 8 rounds remaining, Nangong Ziyue obtained victory. She was one step closer to the top 10. With Nangong Ziyue's victory, Shao of Shao, Dao, and Qi, Yushang. There were 8 Chen 7. 7 Chen of Chen. Only, one had Shao, Chen, 7, and Chen, the 8 Chen of the 7. Of. Wang, Chen, Shao, of Chen of Shang Wood, of brothers, after, of the 8 matches, there were only 8 giants. Aside from himself, he could only fight 7 matches against the other 7 giants. Naturally, the remaining match would be decided by the other contestants. How to arrange it was up to the referee. However, the remaining match did not put much pressure on the 8 giants. Lu Xiaoyun looked at the confident Sima Lingxian and sighed softly. He smiled bitterly and said, 3 years ago, I could last 10 moves against you. Now, after 3 years, I probably cannot even block 1 move from you. Sima Lingxian, how about we compete in the sword? We will only compete in the sword and nothing else. Competing in the sword was similar to competing in the saber. Both parties would draw their swords at the same time. Whoever's sword could defeat the other parties would be the winner. Naturally, Lu Xiaoyun's sword was not as strong as Sima Lingxuan's. The reason he said this was because he wanted to compete with Sima Lingxian in the sword. He wanted to comprehend Sima Lingxuan's sword intent and use it to improve himself. Sima Lingxian had a proud and aloof personality. He looked down on all the swordsmen in the world. Lu Xiaoyun had a request for him. At this moment, he was extremely humble. His gaze was fiery, hoping that Sima Lingxian would agree. With your status and strength, you are qualified to compete in the sword with me. Prepare to draw your sword. Sima Lingxian muttered to himself for a while and did not reject Lu Xiaoyun's suggestion. An excited expression flashed in Lu Xiaoyun's eyes. He performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Many thanks." After Lu Xiaoyun spoke, he grasped his sword hilt with his right hand. His essence, state of ice, sword intent, and his understanding of the sword Tao all accumulated at this moment. Competing with swords sounded simple. It was just pulling out the sword and throwing it out. However, this simple action contained many aspects of truth. Sword intent, sword move, state, and force of attack, as long as there was a mistake in any one of these aspects, the instant the sword was drawn, it would be full of openings. The atmosphere instantly turned heavy. The air seemed to freeze at this moment. The wind cloud platform fell deathly silent. Both sides remained silent, accumulating their moves. Wang! 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 Amidst this endless silence, there was suddenly a resonant sword hum. The sword hum was long, continuous, and solemn. As the sword intent trembled, the huge wind cloud arena trembled continuously. The two of them made their moves at the same time. A solitary sword spun quickly in the air, causing snowflakes to dance in the air. The sword intent gave off a silvery white light, making the place even colder. Cold, extreme cold, cold and emotionless. This was Lu Xiaoyun's state. His sword intent also served this purpose. On the other side, Sima Lingxuan's sword flickered with a golden light. Strong winds filled the air and clouds churned. As the winds blew and clouds churned, it contained a vast state of kingship. This was a sword of kingship. With the support of Sima Lingxuan's 60% comprehended sword intent, the state of kingship appeared very tyrannical and mighty. It faintly gave off the boldness of 10,000 swords. It was the king of swords. Dang! The two swords quickly clashed. Lu Xiaoyun's sword was knocked back with a bang. Then, it broke into two pieces. As for Sima Lingxuan's sword, it gave off a xiu sound and easily stabbed into the wind cloud platform with a brilliant sword intent. Cracks appeared in the sword, and dragon qi immediately soared up. The hazy dragon qi increased the aura of that proud sword significantly. The sharpness of the sword of kingship soared into the clouds, nearly breaking the wind cloud barrier in the sky. Before that sword of kingship, Lu Xiaoyun could not resist at all. The difference between their sword intent and sword intent was too great. The sword was a swordsman's second clone. This sword had followed Lu Xiaoyun for an unknown number of days and nights. It had killed countless enemies. Unknowingly, it had already infused Lu Xiaoyun's qi, blood, and soul. Now that the sword broke, blood leaked out of a corner of Lu Xiaoyun's lips. His complexion turned pale, and his mind became extremely fatigued. After being defeated in one move, Sima Lingxian immediately swallowed up a significant portion of Lu Xiaoyun's 20-meter-long golden dragon, making it much dimmer. However, Sima Lingxuan's golden dragon did not grow much longer. It was still 27 meters long. With Xiao Chen's current luck, unless he defeated the 8 giants, it would be hard for his golden dragon to grow any longer. Lu Xiaoyun wiped off the blood from the corner of his lips. He was not in a rush to get off the wind cloud platform. Instead, he closed his eyes and carefully comprehended the state of Sima Lingxuan's sword when the two swords clashed. After a long time, Lu Xiaoyun opened his eyes. His pale face revealed a gratified expression as he picked up the two broken swords from the wind cloud platform. When competing with swordsmen, I always use my full power. I will not hold anything back. Sima Lingxian said something that others could not understand. Then, he gently landed on the wind cloud platform. However, Lu Xiaoyun was slightly stunned. He understood what Sima Lingxian meant. He was advising him not to be dispirited. However, Sima Lingxian had a proud and aloof character. It would be impossible for him to console others directly. Hence, he was beating around the bush. The first round of the competition ended amidst everyone's excitement. Of the 8 giants, Wang Quan and Li Tianhua were defeated, losing their chance to fight for the first rank. The 2 giants' matches did not disappoint the crowd. Xiao Chen fought against Wang Quan and Xianyuan Zhantian fought against Li Tianhua. These 2 people were the new talents of this 5-nation youth competition. They suddenly rose to prominence and advanced rapidly. Their achievements rose steadily. The golden dragon circling above their heads grew crazily, not stopping at all. This was especially so for Xiao Chen. He was even more unfathomable. Since the start of the elimination rounds, he had not been defeated once. Under the circumstances where many cultivators did not think highly of him, Xiaoqin kept on winning, defeating all his opponents. Just when everyone thought that his winning streak was about to end, he would reveal some of his trump cards and defeat his opponent. No one knew how many trump cards Xiaoqin had. This youth from the great Qin nation wore white robes and held a saber. He defeated all the outstanding talents, noble clans disciples, sect disciples, and veteran giants. He was neither arrogant nor rash, neither servile nor overbearing. He always had a clear and indifferent expression on his face. First match, Bai Qi against Yu Chenxi. The 94th round began. The referee unhurriedly announced the lineups of the two sides. This is another battle between giants. I wonder who will push who down. On the road to the peak, one has to win everything in order to reach the top. Failure is not tolerated. The competition has been going on for quite some time. Bai Qi has the four-season saber technique. I wonder what other trump cards Yu Chenxi will have. In the spectator seats, everyone discussed animatedly, and they were extremely excited. In terms of strength, Yu Chenxi was not much weaker than Xiaoqin. On the wind cloud platform, Bai Qi did not have any intention of underestimating Yu Chenxi. It was like a mountain with steep cliffs and steep cliffs. The path was filled with thorns, and too many climbers had died on it. The few people who could see the summit already had no path of retreat. If they fell, they would be left behind by the other climbers. 3 years of hard work, day and night, achieving success in one go. His dream was right in front of him. He had waited too long for this moment. Bai Qi had too many things to prove. He could not afford to lose. He could not lose. He absolutely could not lose. Fight! 18 heaven-breaking saber strikes. Without needing to say anything, the moment the referee announced the start of the match, the momentum that Bai Qi had been storing up erupted. His overwhelming fighting spirit turned into a dazzling saber light as he executed the first strike of the 18 heaven-breaking saber strikes, hacking at Yu Chenxi. Yu Chenxi had a grave expression. Caution filled her pretty face. She had no intention of giving up against Bai Qi. Yu Chenxi took a deep breath and infused her essence into her right fist. A golden light exploded and shattered the saber qi, turning it into a rain of light that fell to the ground. Second heaven-breaking saber strike. Right after the saber light shattered, the second heaven-breaking saber strike with an even more ferocious aura descended. Third strike, fourth strike, fifth strike, Bai Qi stood rooted to the ground, not moving at all. He held his saber in his right hand and brandished it continuously. The 18 heaven-breaking saber strikes rained down like a torrential storm. Chapter 594. The saber intent contained a strong saber intent, each strike stronger than the one before. At the start, Yu Chenxi was relaxed. The pressure slowly increased, and he started to move back. Without moving, Bai Qi circulated the essence in his body and turned it into the 18 heaven-breaking saber strikes, forcing Yu Chenxi back by more than 10 steps. 18th saber strike. Bai Qi roared ferociously. He had not moved since the start of the competition. Now, he finally moved. When he did not move, the saber lights were like a never-ending storm, forcing his opponent back. However, when Bai Qi moved, he was as still as a mountain. There was only a great spirit hidden in his saber. He turned into an ancient divine mountain that could suppress the sun, the moon, the rivers, and the stars. His movements were unpredictable. A grave look flashed in Yu Chenxi's eyes. When facing the final saber strike of the heaven-breaking saber technique, he brought out the might of the morning sun incantation to the 13th layer. A blazing sun slowly rose from behind him, materializing the state of the morning sun. Light illuminates the sky. With a ferocious roar, Yu Chenxi leaped up together with the blazing sun. The golden sun made her look as beautiful as a goddess. Everyone stopped breathing, not daring to breathe loudly lest they ruin this beautiful scene. At this moment, everyone seemed to have forgotten that this beautiful scene hid Yu Chenxi's huge killing move. Bang! A startling explosion rang out, pulling everyone out of the beautiful scenery. Surging shock waves spread out on the wind cloud platform. Beautiful purples and reds filled the air, surging majestically. Cracks appeared in the wind cloud barrier, looking like it would collapse at any moment. What a strong force. It looks like Yu Chenxi only used less than 70% of his strength in his fight with Nangong Ziyue. I can't see clearly. Has the victor been decided? Who exactly is stronger? If Bai Qi loses like this, it would be a pity. He still has the four-season saber technique that he has not used yet. That should not be the case. Bai Qi will not lose so easily. Who knows? All I can say is that anything is possible. Before he stepped onto the platform, did you expect Yu Chenxi to burst forth with such an intense fist wind? In the spectator stands, everyone stood up and circulated their essence to their eyes. They wanted to find the figures of the two people in the multicolored chi waves. However, the thickness and density of the shock wave far surpassed their expectations. They could not see anything at all, so the group of cultivators could not help feeling anxious. The spring water flowed leisurely, warm at first, then cold at the next. Amid the heavy shock waves, everyone heard a familiar sound. It was Bai Qi executing the four-season saber technique. It looked like the final move of this heaven-breaking saber technique lost to Yu Chenxi's light illuminating the heavens. Otherwise, he would not have used the four-season saber technique. A delicate shout rang out from the airwaves as well. Yu Chenxi was fearless in the face of this saber that contained the power of reincarnation. It was hard to tell whether it was warm or cold. As the light exploded, a punch that was even more powerful than the light illuminating the heavens burst forth. Since there was no way to know whether it was cold or warm, then he would directly use force to break through. Whatever Nangong Ziyue could not do, she would do it for Yu Chenxi. Morning sun breaks dawn, heaven-shattering punch. Boom! 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 Continuous explosions rang out in the shock waves. The sounds were like mountains collapsing and the ground sinking. A huge storm spread out from the center of the exchange. In an instant, the storm blew away the layers of shock waves that filled the arena. The scene on the wind cloud arena reappeared before everyone's eyes. They saw Yu Chenxi standing on a rainbow bridge. The morning sun flickered behind her, giving off a faint radiance. The wind cloud platform looked peaceful. However, her complexion was extremely red, causing her beautiful face to appear somewhat sickly, causing people to involuntarily feel a sense of worry in their hearts. In front of her, Bai Qi's long robes fluttered as he slowly moved back. Then, he slowly floated to the ground like a willow leaf. Bai Qi's complexion looked much better than Yu Chenxi's. However, his expression turned completely sullen. He retreated. Everyone immediately became excited. Bai Qi, who executed the first move of the four-season saber technique, was actually knocked back by Yu Chenxi. Breaking technique with brute force. This is breaking technique with brute force. Although it is called coincidence, Bai Qi's first saber strike contained the power of the cycle of seasons. Just the power of the cycle of seasons is not something that ordinary people can block. However, not only did Yu Chenxi knock back the power of the cycle of seasons, but he even broke the other party's state of spring water. Strong. He can still break the strongest martial technique under heaven ranked. A woman does not lose to a man. With this move, Yu Chenxi can put us to shame. All the cultivators in the spectator stands became excited at this moment. The first move of the four-season saber technique was actually knocked back. Everyone was filled with shock, their faces filled with disbelief. Their expressions were very excited. Spring is over, and summer is coming. The flowing fire mercilessly illuminates the world. My heart is higher than the blazing sun. When Bai Qi landed on the ground, he did not hesitate. He shouted and executed the second move of the four-season saber technique. Spring is over, and summer is coming. The flowing fire of the seventh month burns mercilessly. However, there was a boundless fighting spirit in Bai Qi's heart. It was even stronger than the blazing sun of the 7th month. His heart was higher than the sky. This was the state that the Saber Emperor, Bai Shuehe, had obtained from summer. Bai Qi copied it and executed it. When the boundless carelessness turned into a saber technique, it became a dazzling fiery light. There was a valiance that could swallow mountains and rivers. Pointing at the sky and stepping on the ground, there is only one saber. Bai Qi's voice was not loud. However, the instant he executed the saber technique, his aura suddenly magnified infinitely. It was very tyrannical. The hearts of the crowd in the spectator stands could not help but tighten. They had already taken the place of Yu Chenxi long ago. When they saw Bai Qi's horrifying second saber strike, they could not help but worry for Yu Chenxi. The sun rises from the east, red like fire. How can the blazing sun be defeated so easily? The lofty aspirations in my heart will never extinguish. I dare to go up to the 9 heavens to grab the bright moon. A red sun illuminates the 9 provinces. The light of the rivers for thousands of kilometers will never be extinguished. Yu Chenxi's flushed face glowed with pride. A lofty aspiration burst forth from her chest. A 7-colored pillar of light appeared behind her. Scarlet, orange, red, green, azure, blue, and purple formed a miraculous 7-colored light. She turned into the blazing sun and shot out from the multicolored light. A fist several times stronger than the one before clashed with Bai Qi's tyrannical saber strike. Bang! The moment they clashed, the multicolored light behind her shattered, turning into a multicolored light that scattered over the wind cloud platform. She vomited a large mouthful of blood, and her complexion turned even redder. Only the dim morning sun continued to rise proudly behind her. On the other side, Bai Qi was in an even worse state. In an instant, he was knocked back 100 meters. His speed did not decrease as he continued crashing into the wind cloud barrier. Once again, Yu Chenxi knocked back the second move of the 4-season saber technique. Good. The crowd was very excited. The hundreds of thousands of cultivators in the spectator stands cheered in unison. Their shouts pierced through the clouds, and the entire wind cloud platform seemed to tremble. They were so excited that they could hardly contain themselves. Bai Qi broke another punch. The Haotian sect's Yu Chenxi might really be able to create a miracle. He might use brute force to break technique and defeat the famous 4-season saber technique, becoming the greatest dark horse of this 5-season saber tournament. The wind is heartless, and summer is coming to an end. The people are like leaves, too sentimental. Even at death's door, they still cling to the branch. The autumn wind rustles endlessly, sweeping away all the lovers in the world. Just as Bai Qi was about to crash into the wind cloud barrier, he forcefully turned around. He pushed off the wind cloud barrier and executed the third move of the 4-season saber technique. The world is heartless, the great Tao is heartless. This saber strike is cold and filled with love. It sweeps through the world with the might of the autumn wind. Can Yu Chenxi block it? Outside the wind cloud platform, Xiao Chen's eyes flickered with a brilliant light. His mind quickly tried to simulate Bai Qi's 4-season saber technique. From the moment Bai Qi executed long-lasting spring water, Xiao Chen placed all his attention on him. Xiao Chen's already much stronger spiritual sense pierced through the wind cloud barrier and turned into specks of light hidden in the air. He paid close attention to Bai Qi's every move. Bai Shuehe truly lives up to being a saber emperor. It looks like he held back against me, a junior, in the ancient desolate tower. Otherwise, with the 4-season saber technique, I would not even be able to block one move from him. Xiao Chen quickly analyzed in his heart. However, when Bai Qi executed it, it lacks some spirituality. It seems more artificial. How unfortunate. Not to mention Xiao Chen, the other giants, Xianyuan Zhantian, Chu Chaoyun, and even Sima Lingxian, all watched Bai Qi's every move without blinking. The 4-season saber technique was too famous. It was rare for Yu Chenxi to help them push Bai Qi to this extent. If they did not properly comprehend the mysteries within, it would be a waste of this opportunity. It looks like I overestimated you. Your saber technique is pretty good, but your talent is still lacking. Sima Lingxian shared the same opinion as Xiao Chen. As he looked at Bai Qi on the wind cloud platform, a calm look flashed in his eyes. The confidence in his chest grew even stronger. Yu Chenxi's pretty face was extremely beautiful. Her bright red face looked like it would bleed at any moment. This was an extremely abnormal state. Clearly, she had already reached her limits. She might not be able to block the third saber strike. In the sky, the pitch-black curtain of night was like an overturned cauldron. It directly flipped over and shrouded this part of the world. Just like that, night fell quietly. Bai Qi had not given up yet. Yu Chenxi still wanted to persevere, so she executed the strongest state of the morning sun fist. In the darkness, Xiao Chen frowned slightly. He muttered, "This girl is pushing too hard." The deep night was boundless and boundless. It was so dark that one would not be able to see their fingers if they stretched out their hands. Humans had an innate fear and resistance to night. Hence, they called for the morning sun, hoping that the light would never be extinguished. Xiao. Amid this boundless anticipation, the blazing sun broke through the night sky. Its boundless light shone on every corner of the wind cloud platform. Under the tempering of the night sky, this blazing sun looked different from the rest. Its light seemed eternal and inextinguishable. A red sun illuminated the 9 provinces, all the darkness could not be seen. When facing Bai Qi's 4-season saber technique's third move, Yu Chenxi still chose to use brute force to break technique. She prepared to use the strongest power of the morning sun to break the emotionless autumn wind. Bai Qi's expression was cold. There was no emotion in his eyes. The emotionless autumn wind blew behind him. Then, he charged forward with this sweeping saber strike. Boom! A strong saber light flashed in the wind cloud platform. Following that, a dazzling light enveloped the entire wind cloud platform. Bai Qi looked at the crowd in the wind cloud platform. Aside from light, there was nothing else in his eyes. Chapter 595. There was neither silence nor scenery. There was no sound, no scene reflected in his eyes. All that was left was the pure light that drifted about. With a cracking sound, a resonant dragon roar rang out from within the light. The endless autumn wind blew gently, sweeping away the specks of light one by one. The autumn wind rose and fell. In midair, Bai Qi held his saber with one hand, drifting with the undulating autumn wind. Everyone looked up and saw Yu Chenxi lying weakly on the ground, her complexion completely pale. The morning sun behind her had already dimmed to the point where it did not give off any light at all. Only a pale glow remained, like a flickering spark that would be extinguished by the wind at any moment. A long crack appeared on the ground, splitting the wind cloud platform in half. As the electric light flashed, the wind cloud platform slowly healed. Bai Qi sheathed his saber, and the autumn wind in the arena spun around and returned to his saber. Bai Qi landed on the ground, and blood appeared at the corner of his lips. However, he was in a much better state than Yu Chenxi. It was clear who was stronger and who was weaker, who was the victor and who was the loser. Bai Qi's golden dragon roared ferociously and swallowed up Yu Chenxi's 23-meter-long golden dragon. After that, the golden dragon grew to 23 meters long, catching up to Sima Lingxian. Yu Chenxi, who was on the ground, tried to stand up weakly. Bai Qi knew his condition, so he sent out a cool breeze and gently helped Yu Chenxi up. Yu Chenxi said softly, "Many thanks." Bai Qi looked deeply at this girl who had caught 3 of his saber strikes. A trace of respect flashed in the depths of his eyes. He performed a cup fist salute and said, "I have to thank you as well. You showed me some of the inadequacies of the 4-season saber technique. I hope that we can have a chance to exchange pointers in the future." Gladly. The earth-shattering and intense battle just now had turned into gusts of cool breeze amidst the conversation between the two of them, and the tense atmosphere was gone with the wind. Our generation of martial artists should be like this, winning fair and aboveboard, losing convincingly, being able to pick up and let go, being open-minded. The elders of the Haotian sect nodded and smiled. With Yu Chenxi's strength, it was certain that he would be in the top 5. This was the best result the Haotian sect had ever achieved. When the two of them walked off the dueling platform, the experts of their sects, who had been waiting for a long time, quickly received them. They used spirit pills and profound cultivations to heal the two of them, recovering their combat prowess. In this round, Xiao Chen's opponent was a personal disciple of one of the 10 great sects, Dongfang Yubai. The two of them had never fought before. In the face of Xiao Chen, who was extremely popular and had unfathomable strength, Dongfang Yubai held on to a sliver of hope. He believed that he still had some trump cards hidden, so he did not choose to admit defeat immediately. Xiao Chen was not in a rush. He exchanged a few moves with this person. After his opponent used up all his trump cards, there was no longer any martial technique that could pique his interest. So, Xiao Chen lost his patience and used his 60% comprehended saber intent. Then, he used the lightning tribulation saber technique to defeat his opponent in 3 strikes. The absolute strength caused Dongfang Yubai's heart to turn to ashes. After defeating Dongfang Yubai, Xiao Chen's golden dragon grew significantly. It reached 26 meters, only 1 meter away from 27 meters. However, there was still some distance between him and Bai Qi. This was due to Xiao Chen's insufficient accumulations. After all, he had not participated in the previous 5-nation youth competition and obtained more luck. However, Xiao Chen did not think too much about it. As long as he stood at the peak, his luck would naturally surpass everyone else's. Next match, Sima Lingxian against Wang Quan. After 20 moves, Wang Quan, who had used his cloning technique, could no longer hold on. Sima Lingxian did not even use his quintessence. Wang Quan only used his state of kingship and the Son of Heaven's sword technique, together with his 60% comprehended sword intent, to the point where Wang Quan could not retaliate. After losing to Xiao Chen, Wang Quan lost to Sima Lingxian. This time, it was difficult for Wang Quan to even get into the top 3. When the 94th round of matches came to an end, another match between giants arrived, Xianyuan Zhantian against Chu Chaoyun. For the sake of preserving their strength in the elimination round, the two had chosen to fight in a tacit manner. After one move, they ended in a draw. Draws were not allowed in the ranking matches. A victor had to be decided. Furthermore, at this moment, the two had not lost a single match. At this crucial moment, neither could afford to lose. If they lost, they would lose the chance to reach the top. They had to do their best. Xianyuan Zhantian comprehended the higher-ranked state of kingship from the state of the sea. Chu Chaoyun should have some trump cards that he has not revealed yet. The battle between these two should be about the same. It will be much more exciting than the battle between Sima Lingxian and Wang Quan. Their chances of victory are about the same. However, I still favor Xianyuan Zhantian. After all, he was the only one who dared to compete with Sima Lingxian back then. Clearly, the attention this battle received was much greater than that of Sima Lingxian and Wang Quan's battle. Xiao Chen could tell this from the discussions in the surroundings. Xiao Chen paid special attention to this battle as well. He had always feared Chu Chaoyun, finding him unfathomable. From the start of the battle until now, Chu Chaoyun had not revealed many of his trump cards. Now that Chu Chaoyun was facing Xianyuan Zhantian, he could see how strong Xianyuan Zhantian was. When Xianyuan Zhantian faced Chu Chaoyun, he showed a grave expression. He casually swung his heavenly war halberd, and a vast sea spread out from behind him. Xianyuan Zhantian brought out the vast state of water to its limits. Instantly, waves surged up and down. As Xianyuan Zhantian stood on that vast sea, he held up his heavenly war halberd and looked around arrogantly. "Rise!" Xianyuan Zhantian shouted, and a huge wave soared up from the sea. He held the heavenly war halberd with both hands and hacked down. Boom! A pillar of light descended from the sky and encased Chu Chaoyun. Within the golden light, Chu Chaoyun's aura was boundlessly holy. Every inch of his clothes and every strand of his hair gave off a faint golden glow. Xiao! A resonant sound rang out as Chu Chaoyun drew his sword. A sword intent spread out as he swung his sword in the wind, giving off a bright light. Before the heavenly war halberd could reach Chu Chaoyun, the golden sword easily blocked Xianyuan Zhantian's vast halberd strike. Berserk Dragon Burst. After his first move failed, Xianyuan Zhantian quickly switched to another move. The waves under his feet spun wildly, forming a huge whirlpool. He turned into a flood dragon and hit himself. The waves rolled, and the gales didn't stop. The powerful concept of water lingered and pervaded the entire arena, causing everyone to feel as if they were really in a vast ocean, and for no reason, a feeling of insignificance arose in their hearts. Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly and looked at the incoming berserk dragon burst. Instead of advancing, he retreated. A bright light flickered in his deep eyes as he looked at the whirlpool of the water dragon. It was like everything before his eyes was just an illusion. Heaven-destroying sword. The light that drifted down from the sword suddenly condensed into a line, turning into a dense sword light that shot forward. With the support of the sword will, the golden light even tore thin cracks in the void. N. A muffled groan came from the water dragon burst. Xianyuan Zhantian, who was hidden within, brandished his heavenly war halberd and quickly retreated. When the berserk water dragon burst was within 2 centimeters of Chu Chaoyun, it shattered into droplets of rain and fell from the sky. They shattered and turned into droplets of rain falling from the sky. When they landed on the wind cloud platform, the droplets of rain exploded. The energy contained in the droplets of rain blasted out a horrifying shock wave, blowing out a boundless shock wave. Just a drop of rain had such power, it was very shocking. As the golden light spread out, before the strong raindrops could get close to Chu Chaoyun, they turned into hazy steam. Chu Chaoyun focused his gaze and seized the initiative. He did not hesitate to rush forward and launch a sharp counterattack. Dang! 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 The sea churned and the waves roared. Light filled the place. Amid the horrifying waves, the two quickly exchanged moves. In an instant, they each exchanged more than 100 moves. Chu Chaoyun was the kind of person who would find it hard to turn the situation around once he grasped hold of an opportunity. The longer the fight dragged on, the more opportunities he would have at the very beginning. Along the way, several of Chu Chaoyun's opponents had been forced into a corner by Chu Chaoyun. Before they could execute their best moves, they had already been defeated. Taking advantage of the opening in Xianyuan Zhantian's berserk dragon burst, Chu Chaoyun launched his counterattack. Since then, he had been at the upper hand. He launched a chain of attacks accompanied by flickering golden light, not stopping at a single one. I can't drag this out. Xianyuan Zhantian felt wary. The situation had not reached a point where it could not be salvaged yet. However, if this continued, the rhythm of the battle would fall into Chu Chaoyun's control. At that time, even if Xianyuan Zhantian did not want to lose, he would be defeated. He might end up like the others, not even having the chance to execute his best moves. I am the yellow sky's son, the king of the 4 seas. The might of a king, sweeping through everything before me. Xianyuan Zhantian roared in his heart and finally brought out his state of kingship. In that instant, 81 pillars of waves shot up into the sky from the vast sea behind him. The entire sea surged up, and the vast state of kingship surged out. This caused Xianyuan Zhantian's aura to change. The heavenly war halberd swept out like a roaring flood dragon. Shock flashed in Chu Chaoyun's eyes. He immediately sent out a screen of golden swords before retreating. Boom! 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 The rage of a king, splattering the mountains and rivers with blood. The screen of swords that Chu Chaoyun sent out did not have any effect. The heavenly war halberd tore through the screen of swords without any fear and struck the sword in front of Chu Chaoyun's chest. The qi and blood in Chu Chaoyun's body trembled endlessly as he retreated. When he landed, he left 2 3-centimeter deep footprints in the ground. I did not expect his state of kingship to have already reached such a level. He does not even need a moment to change it. Chu Chaoyun adjusted his breathing for a while and thought to himself, if I make a mistake, the situation will be gone. After Xianyuan Zhantian brought out the state of kingship, his strength instantly increased. His aura reached an oppressive level as he looked coldly at Chu Chaoyun. Xianyuan Zhantian roared ferociously, receive my move. Point to the heavens, trample on the earth. The four seas surged as Xianyuan Zhantian pointed his heavenly war halberd at the sky. A berserk energy surged out. A formless energy shot out from the tip of the halberd and tore a small hole in the wind cloud barrier. Even inferior-grade martial monarchs could not break the wind cloud barrier. Unexpectedly, Xianyuan Zhantian broke it with one point of his halberd. The expressions of the several martial monarchs in the city lord's residence changed. Chapter 596. Dragon Sealing City's city lord, Zhong Liang, said sullenly, this fellow's strength and sharpness are comparable to some inferior-grade martial monarchs. The more horrifying thing was yet to come. Xianyuan Zhantian pointed his halberd forward and stomped heavily on the ground with his right foot. A long crack appeared on the wind cloud platform and quickly spread out. The huge wind cloud platform instantly split in half. Using the huge rebound force from his foot, Xianyuan Zhantian's speed broke through Mach 4, reaching the level of martial monarch. In a flash, he arrived before Chu Chaoyun. Life-extinguishing blood-reversing sword. Chu Chaoyun's reaction was even faster than the eyes of the cultivators in the spectators' stands. The instant Xianyuan Zhantian took 7 steps, Chu Chaoyun let go of his sword. Then, he quickly drew a golden circle with his right palm. In an instant, 8 beams of light descended from the sky. At this moment, Chu Chaoyun's eyes turned completely golden. He gave off a feeling of nobility, honor, strength, and pride. Go! Xianyuan Zhantian smacked his palm heavily on the sword hilt floating in front of him. The golden pillar of light quickly elongated, just in time to welcome Xianyuan Zhantian, who was charging over with an aura of supremacy. Dang! Xianyuan Zhantian moved so fast that no one could see him in the air. Under the pressure of the golden light, he reappeared with his shield. The sword that followed immediately struck Xianyuan Zhantian. The timing of that sword strike was extremely precise. It was like a spiritual sword strike, magnificent and unmatched. Chu Chaoyun had struck the weak point of Xianyuan Zhantian's move. Chu Chaoyun easily broke the halberd move that pointed at the sky and stomped on the ground in a few moves. Ha ha ha! Unexpectedly, you can break my point to the heavens, drawing earth like this. What an eye-opener! What an eye-opener! In that case, receive another move from me. Xianyuan Zhantian felt extremely delighted. He did not feel dispirited at having his trump card broken. He laughed loudly and sent out all sorts of strong trump cards with the support of the state of kingship. Amidst the surging waves, he attacked Chu Chaoyun. Every move of Xianyuan Zhantian's was not inferior to point to heaven trampling on the earth. Several cracks appeared on the wind cloud platform. The speed at which the wind cloud platform recovered could not keep up with Xianyuan Zhantian's speed of destruction. Chu Chaoyun didn't panic. His eyes were filled with endless golden light. 8 rays of golden light enveloped him. As he brandished his sword, he looked like a god walking in the world. Shaochen brought out the might of the state of light to an inconceivable level. He clashed head-on with Xianyuan Zhantian's state of kingship, not giving way at all, breaking all of Xianyuan Zhantian's moves. I have not felt so satisfied in a long time. You managed to break through 18 of my trump cards. Chu Chaoyun, if you can receive my next move, then I, Xianyuan Zhantian, can only concede defeat. Xianyuan Zhantian roared loudly and said, until the end of time, never ending. The surrounding ocean began to change strangely. First, it turned into a river, then into a lake, and finally into a small stream. In the end, the boundless ocean turned into an endless plain, and there were many farmlands on the plain. In that instant, all the cultivators watching saw time flow. The vast ocean slowly turned into mulberry fields. The strange transformation made people truly feel the meaning of the end of the world. The prosperity of the world was like a fleeting cloud. When facing such a long time, everyone felt insignificant for some reason. Even the vast ocean could turn into mulberry fields. What did a person count for? However, there was always an exception to everything. Amidst the vicissitudes of time, there was a person who never stopped. After the tempering of 10,000 years, the state of kingship on his body gained an ancient and heavy air, becoming several times stronger. In the blink of an eye, 10,000 years have passed. Until the end of time, I am still here. The state of kingship, never ending. Using the state of kingship, Xianyuan Zhantian tempered his state of kingship for 10,000 years in one breath. Then, he quickly made his move. Just thinking about it made everyone tremble in fear. How was one supposed to block such a horrifying attack? The ancient aura on the halberd made everyone feel incredibly heavy, like a mountain pressing down on them. The heavy state of kingship leaked out of Xianyuan Zhantian's control. This aura immediately tore small spatial tears in space. Sima Lingxian frowned slightly. This was the first time a martial technique that he could not understand appeared in the wind cloud platform. He could not help but sink into deep thought. Suddenly, inspiration flashed in his mind. Sima Lingxian muttered to himself, "So, that is how it is. I nearly got frightened by him. He is not a true sage. How can he materialize a 10,000-year mysterious phenomenon? He only copied the state of kingship and simulated it. This mysterious phenomenon can only last for 3 breaths. However, even so, it is already very strong. With the 10,000-year state of kingship, Chu Chaoyun will definitely lose." In contrast to Sima Lingshuan's opinion, Shao Chen shook his head. He did not think highly of this move, but he did not say anything. When facing this peak halberd strike, Chu Chaoyun's expression finally turned grave. Chu Chaoyun's right hand quickly formed ancient hand seals, and the 8 pillars of light descending from the sky gathered together. Then, the light scattered and poured into Chu Chaoyun's body. This gave the golden light on Chu Chaoyun's body a texture. Shao Chen was slightly stunned. He quickly sent out his spiritual sense and said softly, "Incredible." Unexpectedly, he managed to condense his essence into a solid state. I thought that I was the only one under martial monarch who could do that. At this moment, Chu Chaoyun was completely golden from head to toe. His holy and proud aura became even denser. As the light gathered, Chu Chaoyun did not move at all. He looked like a golden statue carved by a divine craftsman. Seeing his opponent not moving, Xianyuan Zhantian had a strange feeling in his heart. However, this 10,000-year state of kingship could only last for 1 breath. This was Xianyuan Zhantian's killing move. If his opponent did not lose, he would suffer a strong backlash and lose his combat prowess. He could only continue fighting, there was no other way. Ka Xie. When the heavenly war halberd was less than half a meter away from Chu Chaoyun, who had turned into a golden statue that looked like it had been there since ancient times, moved. The light gathered on Chu Chaoyun's body suddenly burst out. All 321 acupoints in his body gave off a bright light. Every acupoint gave off millions of strands of light. The 300-odd acupoints all merged together. The boundless light layered over each other, so many that it was impossible to count. There were millions, 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 billions. On the wind cloud platform, Chu Chaoyun was like a blazing sun, giving off a piercing golden light. Eternal light. Chu Chaoyun chanted softly. When he opened his mouth, golden syllables drifted out. They were like divine sounds, solemn, solemn, and inviolable. The sword in Chu Chaoyun's hand moved as fast as lightning. The complicated sword art should not have been able to be seen with the naked eye. However, under the endless layers of golden light, every one of Chu Chaoyun's actions was broken down. Every time Chu Chaoyun swung his sword, time paused. It was like another Chu Chaoyun had appeared in the world. Amid the layers of light, Chu Chaoyun swung his sword a total of 99,900 times. Every time he swung his sword, he used his full power. Unexpectedly, the eternal light and unending to the end of time had similar results. The cultivators in the spectator stands immediately felt the similarities and could not help but feel excited. Originally, they thought that Xianyuan Zhantian had used unending to the end of time, tempering his state of kingship for 10,000 years in the blink of an eye. Who knew, the silent Chu Chaoyun executed eternal light and also swung his sword 9,900 times in that instant. There was no way to tell who would win or lose. The countless figures merged together in the blink of an eye and gave off a bright light. Chu Chaoyun's eternal light, which contained the might of 99,900 sword strikes, clashed with Xianyuan Zhantian's unending to the end of time, which he had tempered for 10,000 years. Bang! A loud sound rang out. The crowd, who had been watching closely, could not react in time. They did not even have time to hear the sound of the explosion. The instant the two of them executed their killing moves, a strong energy burst forth. That energy surpassed the two's control. Xianyuan Zhantian did not have time to react. He shot back like a cannonball with a whoosh. He broke through the strong wind cloud barrier and landed in one of the spectator stands without losing any momentum. A rumbling explosion resounded, and many people were thrown off their feet. Several cultivators were caught up in the shockwaves, suffering from an unexpected calamity. They immediately fainted from their severe injuries. Whoosh! 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 However, just as Chu Chaoyun was about to be knocked back by that energy, a beam of golden light descended from the sky and exploded. Then, another beam of golden light descended. A total of 9 beams of golden light soared into the sky. When the beams of light exploded, they managed to negate that unbelievably strong impact. Chu Chaoyun stood on the wind cloud platform with a pale complexion. He panted slightly, and his expression was extremely unsightly. His clothes were tattered. The golden light had already vanished long ago. His holy aura was no longer pure. Although he was in a sorry state, he still stood on the wind cloud platform. Compared to Xianyuan Zhantian, who had been knocked out of the wind cloud platform, his fate unknown, victory was clear. When the hundreds of thousands of spectators saw this scene, they were all dumbfounded. They had not expected a duel below martial monarch to cause such a huge commotion. Even the wind cloud barrier could not withstand it. The referee was extremely shocked as well. However, he was very experienced and quickly recovered his wits. He said, "Chu Chaoyun wins. You gain 2 points." Only after a long time did the crowd react. They all sighed. Things have really changed. A duel between half-step martial monarchs actually caused such a commotion. It is no weaker than an inferior grade martial monarch. Bai Qi's 4-season saber technique's third move nearly broke the wind cloud barrier. If he had used the 4th or 5th move, this wind cloud barrier would not have been able to stop him. That Sima Lingxian definitely has the strength to break the wind cloud barrier as well. If these fellows advance to martial monarch, then the martial monarchs of the older generation will not be able to compete with them. I have a feeling that the doors to the Kunlun realm will open in this 5-nation youth competition. The envoys from the previous 5-nation youth competition will come. Amid the clamor, Shaoqin had already closed his eyes and started resting. Chu Chaoyun's strength had finally bottomed out. In this case, he would no longer fear anyone in this 5-nation youth competition. The path to the peak was within reach. Next match, Shaoqin vs Bai Qi. In the 95th round, it was finally Xiao Chen's turn. This time, his opponent was the noble clan disciple known as the strongest bladesman of the younger generation, Bai Qi. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.